Get ready with me as I tell you why my parents signed me up to transfer high schools without telling me. Okay, little disclaimer before, in no way am I getting mad at my parents, dissing them, or bad-mouthing them. I'm actually super thankful for their decision, and I just thought it would be a fun story to tell. Okay, so for background, I have been a public school girl all my life. Kindergarten through 9th grade, I was always in public school, and I never had any intention of changing that. And I really liked it. And not to say that I didn't make any good friends there, because I still have some friends there that I'm still really close with. But I'm also saying while I was there, I definitely became friends with some girls and some people that I probably shouldn't have. It's all lessons to be learned, so I'm very thankful no matter what. I was on varsity dance team my freshman year, and I loved the girls on the team, but the environment was not always the best, so I really struggled in that. And even before I knew I was transferring, I decided not to do it next year. My freshman year was definitely very rough in terms of I lost my relationship with the Lord, and I had to change churches because it was definitely not a good environment whatsoever. I started therapy and it really wasn't working that well for me. I was still super depressed and it was just a really low time in my life. It's always light at the end of the tunnel because my parents found out about this private school. I only knew about 3 people there, and I honestly didn't know that much about it except for what my one friend was telling me, which she absolutely loved it. I never really saw myself there because I never really was open to the opinion about it. And it wasn't really an option at the time. But as my parents started to notice that I was not getting any better, they started looking at different schools. And this private school in particular was the one they were leaning towards. Let's just say I was not having it. So fast forward to March, I'm still not doing well, and my parents are finally doing something about it. They told me they were going to tour this school. I was not able to come, so I didn't get too attached. I was like, I'm not even gonna get attached anyway. I don't want to change schools. No, in my mind, I actually really did. So I remember the day they came home, they were literally beaming about this school, telling me all these good things, like handing the pamphlet to me and all this stuff. We were driving downtown for dinner, and my mom was just gushing about the school, telling me about their community system, and she was like, oh, and there was this little nun at the front desk who ended up being one of my biggest mentors later on down the road. And was just saying anything to get me to even want to go to this school just a little bit. My parents were still on the fence about it. 1, because I'm not Catholic. 2, because it is a private school, and that's a pretty big step up from public. But what I didn't know is that my dad met this girl at the coffee shop who had the uniform on of that new school they were touring. So he went up, asked her about it, and was like, hey, I just toured this school, but I'm not really sure what we're gonna do. And she looked at him and was like, do whatever you can to get your daughter into this school because it is the best thing that ever happened to me. So my dad's like, okay. But I had no idea. So now it's late April and I am in huge trouble. I have now just completely messed up my freshman year, lost my parents' trust in everything. My phone was taken, all of the above. I got in this really big fight with my parents. We're just getting mad at each other, yelling, and suddenly they pull out the most insane card in the book. So basically, we're going back and forth. All of a sudden, she just goes, and that's why you're going to private school next year. I was like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, well, this is why we signed you up to go to next year. What? I just stared at her. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, did you sign me up for this high school next year without telling me? I was livid. I was so mad, but looking back, I'm like, it's the best decision that my parents have ever made for me. But at the time, I was obviously very upset. I haven't toured this school. I've never been inside of it. I was pretty upset. I was using all the, I'm not Catholic, I don't want to go. I literally just wrote an essay about how I don't think people should be wearing uniforms. It was a whole thing. I distinctly remember walking down the hallway the next day with my friend at school, yelling about how I'm not going to this school next year. Like, people thought I was crazy, like, who was this crazy freshman rambling about some different school. Summer came, and I really looked back on my year and realized how awful it was, and who I'd become was not who I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And I wasn't even officially in the school yet. until I was. My parents sat me down at dinner and they told me that I was accepted into this school and it was my decision, but they were like, you know the right decision that you should be making. I was still upset, but I knew in my heart that that's what I needed to do. I ended up reaching out to the one friend who had been telling me about it, and she said, like, you have to go. It's the most amazing school, and she was the first person I told that I was gonna go to this new school. Now, flashback to literally a month ago, I graduated from this private high school, and it was the best decision ever. I made so many new friends, I have so many mentors, and I gained my relationship with the Lord back. I'm now frequently going to church. Even though I'm not Catholic, it had truly opened my eyes to so many new opportunities, and I just see life in a whole new way. It truly goes to show how if you make the best out of every single situation, it could end up being one of the most, like, your favorite part of your entire life, even though I'm only like 18. Praying and trusting the Lord goes such a long way, and in my situation, it ended up being super positive, even if it didn't start out how I wanted it to be. I made a post a couple days ago about how many amazing and beautiful things came out of this opportunity, and it's truly so eye-opening. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, you are loved unconditionally. Bye.
I have a roommate that would urinate on the floor. Story time. Oh, story time about the nastiest roommate. This happened a few years ago during COVID time. So me and this one roommate, the girl who owned the house, we were really good friends. We meshed well, great roommates. But because COVID, we needed to get a third roommate. I was like, not a problem. Just my only request is that it's a girl because no boys allowed. And hopefully we mesh well because I don't want like a Ted Bundy living under the same roof as me. Like, you know, you live in the same house, you want to mesh well. So it's moving day for Nicole because I'm gonna use her real name because she's a hoarder. Nicole, she moves in and I'm like, hi, my name is Krista. Do you need help with anything? She's like, no, don't touch my stuff. I'm like, okay. I gave her some grace because I'm like, you know, it's stressful, moving, whatever. A few days go by, her shit is still everywhere because found out she's a hoarder. And I was like, you know what, it's okay, you know, she needs a few extra days for that. I'm starting a load of laundry, like a few work pants and some like socks, right? So nothing big, like a very small load. But I hear this clunking sound and I go downstairs and Nicole put her shoes in the washing machine with my clothes and used my laundry soap. So I was like, Nicole, what are you doing? Don't ever do that again. Like, no. Did no one ever teach you to not fucking do that? So we had to have a long talk about like, don't use my shit. Which me and the other roommate had a really cool agreement. Like, if you're gonna drink my soda or anything like that, just like when you go to the store, replace it. Or if I'm gonna use your soap, like next time I go, I'm gonna get more. We were really good about that. But with Nicole, like I had to hide my stuff because she would just use it and take it and then claim that she didn't and then never get anything back. I started noticing that she was doing my stuff because I'd go in the fridge and I'd go to grab a Dr. Pepper and I'd realize like half of them are Grwn and I'm like, where's my sodas? And it's Nicole. Oh my God. Sorry, that was my little phone holder. Her ears are ringing. She knows I'm talking about her. So then after that, I'd have to like hide my stuff, right? So now some time has passed and I realized that my stuff is starting to smell like cigarette smoke. So I'm like, it's Nicole because she's a chain smoker, which I don't care if you smoke, but like someone who doesn't smoke is really potent. Okay. And her room was across from mine. So it would like seep under the door and just like make my stuff smell. So I told her, I was like, can you like not smoke like inside? Why are we smoking inside? And I caught her one time walking down the hallway with a cigarette and I was like, no. So the one roommate had to tell her like, hey, you need to go on the balcony or go outside. Like, absolutely not. So then I would start catching her by the front door. The front door would be open. She's just like smoking and like putting it outside, but she's basically inside the foyer. And then she would like flick it. And then as she's closing the door, she'd like blow out the smoke. So it's still like going inside. And she didn't care. She would like, the one girl would be like, hey, like it's starting to smell like smoke. I'm gonna have to get like more Febreze and all that. So I'm gonna start charging you for that. And she did not care. Then let's see, she would like leave all her beer cans everywhere and I'd clean them up and then she'd get mad because she'd say that we need to recycle. And I'm like, well, if you want to recycle, then why didn't you put them in the recycling bin? Then after all of that, let's see, she would use our dish cleaner, like scrubby, like Scrub Daddy dish cleaner, you know what I'm talking about? She would use that for the dog bowl and get like all the wet food and crumbs off of his stuff and then put it back and not wash it out. And I caught her doing it and I was like, how long have you been doing that? She's like, oh, like this whole time. I'm like, yeah, don't use our dish cleaner for the dog bowl because that's gross. I don't want to clean my dishes with like crusty old dog food. No. Then I started noticing that there was ants everywhere, like randomly here and there in the kitchen. I was like, oh, that's weird, you know. I've never lived somewhere with ants, so I was like, that's weird. Like I'd find one or two and then I'd like squish them. And then I came home and there was ants in my room, in my bed, on the floor, on the walls, everywhere. And I freaked out and I was like, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. And I followed the trail. And where did the trail go? Right to her bedroom. So I was like, this is gross. I told the one roommate, she was like, oh my gosh, we need to fix this like now. So she sprayed everything. She went in her room and it was so gross. I didn't go inside, but I just like, you know, looked like this and there was like beer cans and ashtrays and think of like trash bags and boxes everywhere. And like her bed, there was just like plates everywhere. And I'm like, oh, that's where my plates have gone. I thought they were just, you know, I don't know where they were going, but now I found them and I don't want them no more. So then after that, she was like, hey, we need to have like a discussion, like in 48 hours, I'm going to do like a whole, like go in everyone's bedroom and make sure that there's no ants. But it was more of like I'm going to make sure that your room's cleaned up. So the one girl gave us 48 hours, which I don't even know if it's legal, but she mostly did that to like check her room to make sure she cleaned it. And she didn't. There was still like shit everywhere. She's like, it really smells in here. Like you need to throw this stuff away. And she's like, yeah, I've just been working, blah, 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 blah. So then I go in the pantry and there's ants everywhere. And so I bleached everything. I took everything out and I scrubbed everything. And I threw away all the open containers, like the chips, the gummy bears, anything that was open, I threw away. Because I'm like, ew, ants are gross. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care if it's your stuff or my stuff. I'm throwing it away. It's gross. And she came downstairs and she was really mad that there was ants. Or no, she wasn't even mad about that. She was mad that I was throwing her chips away. And I was like, there's ants in your chips. There's ants in your pants. And she was like, don't do that. That's my stuff. I'll just wash it. And I was like, you want soggy chips with ants? Weird take, but okay. And so then she would take her food and then she would put it upstairs. So then there would be more ants. And then I was like, I cannot live like this. I cannot live like this. So I told the one roommate, I was like, listen, I can't do it no more. I'm sorry. I tried. I don't live like this. And she tried to like evict her, but I know it's like a whole process and like this was during COVID, so it was just like a shit show. But finally, before I left, homegirl Nicole, she left randomly, didn't tell anybody, like packed a few things and then dipped. And we figured she was leaving, but we were like, don't jinx it, don't say anything. Like if she leaves, that's fine. And like left stuff. And we were like, is she coming back? And like she never came back. And like days would go by, she texted her, no answer, nothing like that. And I think after like 30 days, technically it's like, what is it called? Where it's like, you basically don't want your stuff anymore. I think something like that, where she had to wait a certain amount of time. And so time had passed and we had to get cleaners. And then the cleaners came in and they were like, we have to rip up your carpet. And we were like, why? And they were like, because there's urine. We were like, what? And they were like, yeah, you see all these spots? This is urine spots and it has seeped down and we have to rip everything up. And they had to rip everything up and like they had to like do like this special paint because like the cigarette smoke, and it was bad. Like you moved the bed and you could like see the cigarette smoke. It was so gross. And yeah, well, I don't know what happened to her. I wonder if she's like hoarding another house. I don't know, but it was gross. It was so nasty. And I was like, Nicole, girl, why are we waiting? Why are we going in the corner of the room popping a squat when your bathroom is attached to your room? That's the crazy part. It's not like, you know, I'm not even saying that this is normal, but like her bathroom was attached to her room. She was just doing it for the fun of the game, I guess. I don't know. But yep, it was really bad roommate. Disgusting roommate.
With me while I give y'all a story time on how like I scared all of my friends to death at my birthday party and like almost made them call the cops and they thought they were gonna get shot. Okay, so basically we all stayed in a hotel for my birthday at this like place like not that far from where I live, but like kind of far, like 45 minutes away from my house. And prior to the birthday, like there was like a whole thing where like this guy shot some girl on the side of the road like right before we went, and it was like in the same town, so that already made everybody like a little on edge. And we stayed in a hotel by ourselves, or not really by ourselves, but there was like 6 or 7 of us. And my parents stayed in a hotel or in a room like right beside ours, so it was kind of weird. It was like our hotel and then theirs was the room beside us, but they had like a door like that could come into our room, but they had to like unlock it to come in. Like one of the girls couldn't stay the night because she had like, I think she had a volleyball tournament the next morning, so she couldn't stay. And it was that night we picked up all the girls, we went to this one hotel, and we kind of snuck into the pool because it was closed, and we thought they were gonna have an open pool, but it was closed, and we snuck in, and then they told us that it was closed. So then we left, went to another hotel, and then that's where we ended up staying. And that's basically what we did for the first day. And then like we all were in the room. It was like 11 o'clock at night probably, and this one girl, or the girl that was supposed to leave, she was like, hey, I gotta go, like my mom's here. And I'm like, okay, like I'll walk you down. Me and 2 other girls walk her down to the to her mom's car that's like parked in front of the hotel, and my mom obviously. And where our hotel was, it was like the main road, a McDonald's, and then like you drove down another road, and then it was our hotel. So like our hotel was facing this way, and it was like all woods, and then you turn this way and it was the McDonald's, and it was 11 o'clock at night. The McDonald's was closed obviously, and I thought that it would be such a funny thing if I called my friends and told them that there was a shooting at the McDonald's, and I was just gonna prank them. Like I thought it was funny. Like I did not think that they were gonna take me like for real, and yeah, they definitely did. So I called one of the girls and I'm like, there's a shooting at the McDonald's, like I'm in the car, the police are like coming and checking us right now. And then like I'd tell them that the police was coming up to the car, and I'd like hang up real fast. And like it was like, and then I sent them a picture because the McDonald's was closed obviously because it was 11 o'clock at night, and like they had all the lights off, and I was like, see, like the McDonald's has all the light. That was a lot, but the McDonald's has all the lights off. That's why, because there's a shooting. Like the guy ran into the woods. They don't know if he's in the hotel. Like you only lock the door, hide, like do everything you can, like be safe, whatever. So I'm going along with this plan for like 30 minutes. Like I'm telling them all this stuff, like that there's a shooting going on. They don't know where the guy went. He like ran off as soon as he shot them. Like he did an armed robbery at the McDonald's and all this other stuff. And I told them that to turn all the lights off and like get and like hide somewhere. So all the girls there were 2 beds in the room, and they got behind the bed beside like the window. And then there was a chair in the corner, and some of the girls got behind the chair in the corner, and the other ones were just like behind the bed. My friend obviously had to leave, so I'm like, okay, I gotta go back up to the hotel room. Like I'm gonna prank them and like sneak up to the room and like make them think that I'm like a cop or something. So this is me, my mom, and the 2 girls, and we're like sneaking up there, like sneaking down the hallway, like against the wall, like everything else, like all that. But of course in my mind I'm like, there's no way they believe me, because part of the call, like whenever I was calling them, like I was laughing. Like it was like a very believable but also like unbelievable story at the same time. Like, and I mess with people like that, so I don't know why they believe me, but I kind of traumatized my friends either way. So yeah, I didn't think they believed me, so whenever I went up to the room, I was like very like not expecting what happened. So whenever we get up to the room, we like go up to the door and we start banging. Like we were on that door, like we were like loud. But of course in my mind I'm like, they don't believe me, like there's no way they believe me. And they come up to the door, like there was like 3 of them. They like sneak up to the door, and they like they open it, and but like, you know, the top latch, the top latch was locked, so they opened it like to the point where they couldn't anymore because it was locked. And I seen them, and they are bawling, like crying their eyes out. Like I'm like, what the heck, like are y'all okay? And they're like, no, like you just scared us so bad. They were fixing to jump out the window. Like,
I cannot make this up. They were gonna jump out the window because they thought that the guy was like coming for them, like at the door. Like they thought the person banging on the door was the guy, and so they were fixing to jump out the window. And all of them sent their parents like super long messages, like telling them how much they love them. Like they were thinking they were gonna die, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, but yeah, that's kind of end of the story on how I like pranked my friends into thinking they were gonna die. And if y'all have seen this, I love y'all so much and I'm very sorry.
Things I'm never doing again in a relationship and why. Okay, so first off is beg. I'm pretty sure that's kind of obvious. My first relationship, I had to beg a lot. My second relationship, I did not. My third relationship, I had to beg a lot. So yeah, I'm just never doing that again. Say I love you before 6 months. This one's kind of controversial and I think this is just going to be a boundary for me. Truly, I think it needs to be at least half a year before you know someone. I knew my ex for 3 years and then we dated for 2 months and that's when I said I love you. And you know what? 6 months in, I probably wouldn't have said that. Number 3, repetitively asking for a change in behavior. I think that all of these are pretty much basic. My ex-boyfriend, I asked many times for a change in behavior. I gave him over half our relationship to fix things, and you know, he never did. And then I found out that he never did because he was cheating on me. So yeah, never again. Making excuses for him. Also pretty obvious. My ex, I made a lot of excuses for him, like, oh, he's not coming home because he's made so many new friends, like he has college. No, it's not that hard to come see your girlfriend. So I will not be making excuses for him. He can tell me his excuse and I can decide from there, but I will not be making excuses for him to make myself feel better. The next thing is I'm not going to try and imagine his point of view. I think he can tell me instead. I think it's okay to like see where people are coming from, but it's the same thing as like making excuses. I want him to tell me where he's coming from instead of me trying to imagine it, because I feel like when I do that, I fall in love with the version of him I create in my head instead of what's in front of me. And so I'd rather him show what's in front of me and how he thinks, all that stuff. Ignoring red flags because he's a good guy. My ex, he's a really good person. I truly do believe that, but he did some stuff that I would literally just brush off because I thought he's a really good person. He just made mistakes, but those mistakes led to 5 months of cheating. So won't be doing that again. This one's a really big one for me. Settling because I'm afraid to be alone. I genuinely stayed with my ex-boyfriend because I was afraid of being alone because I was in college, and you know what? I hadn't made many friends because I was like, well, I live with my best friend and I love my roommate and I have a boyfriend. Like what? I didn't feel like I needed any more connection to be happy. And so when we started having trouble, I genuinely just did not want to break up with him because I didn't want to lose someone from like the small community I had. So, but honestly, we broke up, my community got smaller, but I'm happier. I'm not as stressed. Sacrificing my peace to keep him comfortable, I would do that all the time. I think that's an okay thing to do when you're married, but in a relationship, I think if I'm constantly the one sacrificing my peace and he's never sacrificing his peace for me, it's just a level of imbalance that isn't healthy for a relationship. And it's so incredibly draining to constantly just sacrifice everything for someone and they give nothing back. Ignoring my intuition when I know something feels off. Again, something felt off about him and this one girl. I was right. Turns out it had been going back a while. Believing words over actions. This is also a pretty big one because men will lie. My ex lied. He would say such pretty words that like got to me because, you know, I'm a woman. I love words. But I also love action, and he never showed any action. And the one time he came and visited me at college was after I broke up with him. So he could try and make up with me. He took me on a date, and he was there for like an hour. And that was it. So those are all my things. If you have more, let me know. That's my list so far, but I'll let y'all know when I update it.
I'm still mad, so we're gonna talk about it. This happened about a year ago. I've always had trouble finding nail techs that are good, not too crazy expensive, But you know what? I'll pay if I'm getting what I want. Last year, I was looking for a nail tech for so long. I went through so many Instagrams. I wanted French. I sent pictures beforehand of what I wanted. These are the pictures I sent. Okay. Mind you, my appointment is at 10:30. I'm about to leave. It's 10:15 and she texts me saying, hey, can we move the appointment to later on because I have to restock on supplies? First of all, you're texting me 15 minutes beforehand. Like, what kind of notice is that? Second of all, how are you not already prepared? Anyways, these are the texts. We had a little conversation. She asked 12:30. I said, can we do 11:30? She was like, oh, like I won't have enough time. I text her, I might be coming around 12:45/1. Is that still okay? She says, yes, that's perfectly fine. So I get there at 12:40. I'm buzzing, no one's answering. I text her. She says, I'm in the bathroom, hold on. She opens the door and I get in by like 12:44 maybe. I'm pretty much on time. She's doing my nails. I'm like, I kind of don't really like this, but I don't want to say anything because she knows what she's doing. I don't know what's going on. She finishes my nails. I freaking hate them. They're disgusting. They're not like the inspo pic. My nail shape is a little complicated. I have bigger hands and it's not gonna look exactly like the inspo pic. I understand. Like, it was not what I wanted. I wanted like a classy, just regular French nail. I want that, and I told you that's what I want. As a nail tech, you should understand what that means. Don't even say anything. I just want to be nice. I'm like, I'll put up with these nails for a little bit until I can get them redone somewhere else. I pay, I believe $85, and I had already paid a $15 deposit. But when I paid the $85, I didn't take into account that I had already paid $15. I'm leaving, I get in the car, my cousins are like, what the hell is this? They are disgusting. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Ugly ass nails were $100. I had forgotten my jacket. I went back to get it and I go, can I ask you, why was I charged $85 when I had already paid $15? And I'm not doing any complicated, like, crazy nails. And her response was, I have a 10-minute grace period and you came at 12:45. Girl, what? You literally postponed the whole appointment by 2 hours with 15-minute notice. What are you talking about? Grace period. Like, literally what? And I had told her beforehand too that I might get there a tiny bit late. She didn't say anything about charging me for being late. I'm like heated. I try to dispute it with my bank. They don't approve it because, you know, it's a small business, whatever. Then she sends me this text. I feel like it was condescending. She's like, you're just a first-time client. Like, you don't understand the policies. I literally didn't respond. She is literally person at fault. Still pissed she got to keep the $100. You know what? Brokies will be brokies. So I guess she really needed that $15, $20. I hope it got her nothing good.
Every time I caught my dad cheating in the same neighborhood. My dad was always leaving at nighttime, and I was the only one that knew because I would be up. My dad was a garage dad, so he would always be in the garage or just not home. All throughout the day, my mom was always at work, so it was just my dad at home and me and my brothers when we got home from school. Also, I started smoking, so I'd always be outside smoking or whatever. So one day I'm walking home from school. The school is really just down the street, a couple houses between our house and the school. To get to our house, there was just neighborhood. It was about like a 5-minute walk. Okay, to get to the front of the house, you would have to pass the garage. You can like go behind the house. A couple of times, my mom would suspect that things are missing in the house, like toilet paper she just bought, cereal boxes. This is when my dad started living with us again. So my mom questions us first. I don't know where shit is. I'm never home at the time. Mind you, my brother's not in high school, so they're playing football. He starts questioning my dad, and he didn't know where she is either. But he was also always gone, and when we were gone, he was always at the house. My dad starts leaving from like when my mom goes to sleep till like 5 in the morning. Time he came back, and it was when my mom was getting ready for work in the morning. So he came back hecka early in the morning, and my mom starts questioning. They get into a big ass argument. She threatens to kick him out, whatever. But she just goes on about her day because she has to go to work. Like, so I start getting all nosy. I went through his phone. I saw messages with this girl on his phone. They're meeting down the street, but down the street is also a gas station. But also, my dad used to sell at the time, so it could have just been a customer or a knock. Coming home from school, mind you, he's my way to get in. The door's locked. I see a couple of my homegirls outside because I've been outside that whole time, and they're asking like, hey, do you want to go?
I say, yeah, whatever, but let me just put my bag inside first. In order to do that, I need to find my dad. So I call his phone, he's not answering the phone. Kept calling, kept ringing, still not answering the phone. I call one more time, it goes straight to voicemail. Okay. Mind you, I have his location at the time, and he had mine too. So I started following the location in the neighborhood. A couple houses down, I see a bitch. I see my dad again with this girl, and she's Mexican. Mind you, my mom's Mexican too, so the nigga must have a type. So I kind of peep behind some cars, because there's heck of cars down that road. Sneak behind the car a little bit, because he don't see me, but I see him. And his location's still on. Mind you, my mom's at work and my brother's at practice. I call my dad's phone one more time. I could see him down the street. So if he don't answer, finally answers the phone, and I see him answering them, still hiding behind this random person's car. So he said he's at his homie's house. I never seen this person's house before. I could walk to him, but I kind of want to see what's going on because I was being messy. So I see him walking to his car from a distance. I'm thinking he's getting in his car to go and open the door for me. He opens his trunk. It's all of my mom's stuff that she was trying to look for. I don't get EBT at the time, so we always had snacks. My dad's a little big, so I just thought he was eating. He's giving this bitch groceries. He wasn't paying for shit. I don't know if I should tell my mom or just keep my mouth shut. Later on that year, she found out. She moved out of the house. My dad still don't know I know.
I just had the craziest interaction with a real estate agent, and I want to tell somebody without reporting her. So, okay, I'm on the market for a house or a condo for myself, and I'm working with an agent already, but I went by myself to this open house tonight, and it was just me and this woman, okay? And I walk in, and she, like, goes, what's your name? I tell her my name, and she's, like, trying to figure out what kind of Middle Eastern I am. And she tells me she's Albanian. Okay, cool. So she goes, are you looking for yourself or your family? And I go, okay, I'm looking for myself. And she goes, well, how old are you? You look 15. Okay, thank you. I said, I'm 25. She goes, well, you look 15. Okay, thanks. And she goes, well, this is too big for you. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath condo. And who the fuck are you? Okay, this is too big for you. Are you going to live with somebody else? And I go, no, just me. Not a boyfriend, not a girlfriend, nobody? You're going to live alone? And I go, yeah. And she goes, well, how are you going to be able to afford that? Okay, I get that she's from Albania, but you can't just ask people that. Like, so I'm like, well, I have a job, so, and she goes, hang on, sorry, I have a hair in my mouth. Hang on. She goes, well, you're not a serious buyer, are you? And I was like, didn't know how to answer. She goes, are you pre-approved? I said, yeah. And she goes, oh. And she goes, so what kind of job do you have that would make you be able to afford this? Okay, and then she's following me around. Okay, she keeps touching me. She keeps trying to hug me. Okay. So she goes, what do? I go, I'm an operations manager. She pulls out her Indeed, and she's like, get me a job. I was like, guys. She's like, well, get me a job at your company. Like, literally grilling the shit out of me. Well, how long are you going to live here for? And why, like, what makes you think you can afford this by yourself? And she's like, so do you work remote? Do you work, like, just, like, all these fucking questions. I'm trying to think, like, what else inappropriate she asked. Oh, I'm trying to leave. Okay, this was inappropriate. The whole thing was, I'm trying to leave. She's grabbing my wrist, okay? She's grabbing my wrist. She's like, you can't leave. Don't leave me. You have to wait to see if the listing agent texts me back. Because I said, is it rentable? After it's owner occupied for a little bit, can I rent it out? Okay. She's like, you can't leave me. She's grabbing my arm. What do you mean? Guys, she followed me outside. She's grabbing my arm. She goes, well, I said, I'm sorry, I'm working with a real estate agent. Like, I told her this, like, midway, like, into this whole interaction that I'm working with a real estate agent. And she's like, I can't believe you're working with a real estate. Aren't I better? Don't you want me? And then, since I've left, mind you, I left maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. She's texted me 5 separate fucking times. And the thing is, I actually did like the condo, but I don't want that woman to know where I live. Like, she was, like, literally, like, a psycho. And I get, like, there's a cultural difference. She thinks it's appropriate to say stuff like that, clearly. And I called my dad about it, and he's like, well, she's just saying what everyone else is thinking. Like, how are you able to afford it? Yeah, but, like, even, like, but it was just so highly, like, I know you know it's not okay. Anyway, what do you think? If anybody managed to watch this.
Okay, story time. Since everyone's asking what happened, stay with me, it's kind of long. So, the girl that I fought, she's only been in the family just a few months, and she's been in and out. She's dating my brother-in-law. And a few months ago, her and my sister-in-law got in an argument, and she brought me into it out of nowhere, and I was like, what the heck happened? I'm sitting here folding laundry, like, how am I being brought into it? I had never really even talked to her. So, me and her got into it, and she's like, well, say it to my face, say it to my face. Well, every time I'd go to where she was at, she wouldn't show up. So, finally, my father-in-law and mother-in-law got an apartment, and she moved in with them. So, every time we would take the grandkids up there, she was up there, I'd go to confront her, she'd lock herself in the bedroom. And I kept the peace because I didn't want it around my kids. Well, last weekend, we was up there because we was going to go to Kentucky Kingdom for the 4th of July. So July 3rd, we was up at the apartment and spent the night. She was sucking up to me, acting all sweet. And so my husband was cutting his brother's beard. And, hang on, baby. And he missed a big spot. So I pointed, I wasn't even touching, and I pointed and I said, hey, get right there. She walked in the bathroom and seen me pointing, didn't say nothing, goes back to the bedroom. My brother-in-law goes in there, he comes out crying and couldn't even speak to me. Apparently, she told him I was flirting with him and too close to him, and they got in a big argument and everything. Well, here comes the next day, we go to Kentucky Kingdom. I have my kids with me. So I kept the peace, didn't want to fight around them. And so on. Hang on. Sorry, my husband got home. And so my father-in-law had bought her tickets to go down there, and she didn't have a bathing suit. And he said he wasn't going to buy her a bathing suit, and that if she didn't have a bathing suit, she wasn't going. It was a whole big thing. So I was like, just get her a bathing suit so we can go and get it over with. So I let her wear my bathing suit. So that left me with one. And anyways, the day went good. We get home that night, and she starts acting weird. We leave, we go back to our place in the next county over. And fast forward to this week. Last Sunday, we got told we can no longer have our puppy at our place. So my mother-in-law said she would take it. And I called her Thursday, and I was like, hey, how's the puppy doing? She's like, well, I'm not home. It's at the apartment. He's doing good. Not even 10 minutes later, my husband sends me a screenshot from work. Our puppy was posted on Facebook for free by a boy that was just recently in jail for abusing a girl inappropriately, and a minor by that. And so I went off and got him in a group chat, this boy, and I was like, why are you up at the apartment? And two, why are you posting our dog? And he started going on about a bunch of stuff, and some girl starts running her mouth, and I was like, who is that? And she grabs the phone, she says, it's blank blank, you bitch, and this and that, and I started going off. And she already hung up, and I begged him to call me back. She called back and pointed at the ceiling and was like, I'm gonna whoop you, and you like flirting with my man. And I'm sorry, but if you see him, you would understand I would not. And that's been my brother-in-law for 3 years. And so I was like, all right, I'll be down there this evening. I'm fed up with it. So then we get told not to go down there. Then my mother-in-law calls, and she's like, get to my apartment now. I'm not home, but she hurt my brother-in-law in the past, and he just now told. So we rush down there. We go up there. Well, we rush down there. The family comes and picks our kids up. My husband walks up there by himself, and he comes back down. He's like, go get her. He's like, she just got in my face and was threatening to hit me and told me to get out and everything. So I turn around, and my sister-in-law was done gone. So I run up there. My other brother-in-law comes behind me. And we get up there, and she's locked in the bedroom on the phone with the police. Nothing had even happened. Well, she hurries up and jumps out of the bedroom and runs at my sister-in-law. And when she runs at my sister-in-law, her boyfriend, which is my sister-in-law's brother, shoves her to the ground. When he shoves her to the ground, she comes after me. So I slam her to the ground. We start fighting, and the brother-in-law's holding my sister-in-law down, and the other brother-in-law is trying to break that up. Well, I guess my sister-in-law got up and came after her again, and I was already had her down. And when I seen that happen. The brother-in-law that had the sister-in-law down comes up behind me, grabs me by the hair, slings me to the floor, and takes his steel-toe boots and kicks me right here. I got a big knot right here. And he kicks me in the head, and then he gets on my chest and starts choking me. That's where that came from. And the other brother-in-law seen that and punched him in the face. And while all this was going down, my husband was downstairs with the kids and the family. And so he didn't know what was going on. And I get up, and my sister-in-law was over there with the brother-in-law. And I go to go back after this girl, and she said no and punches the brother-in-law in the face. So I walk out the door, go downstairs to check on my kids, and we got told the police was coming, so we left. And we figured all that out now. We talked to them and everything. And it was just a big situation. And now she's trying to say that we ganged up on her when we didn't. Like, her boyfriend was throwing punches, kicking with boots, choked me. So to clear that up, no one jumped her. And to all the people saying that my knuckles wasn't red, I was showing my left hand that has my wedding ring. I was hitting with my right hand. If you can see, it's bruised. And I didn't post that video until I got home. Like, she had ripped my shirt right here. That was the only thing she'd done, was rip my shirt. And I had a handprint on my boob. And I don't know. It's a whole big situation. And now her and him's actually broke up, and she's left. And she's stalking this account, but she has me blocked on it. She's stalking it on a fake account. And so I got on my fake account and was looking at her videos, and she's saying that everybody jumped her. That's 2 guys and 2 girls on her, when that wasn't true. It was her and her boyfriend against me. And it was her and her boyfriend against me and my sister-in-law. And then the brother-in-law was trying to break it up. And it was a whole big deal. She's trying to make the pity party and go on about this and that. And I've called her out in the comments, and I've got screenshots. And she hurries up and deletes the whole video because she knows I'm right. And she won't show her face. On all her videos now, she's posting old pictures and videos and stuff. But she cleared up. None of that happened. And sorry, this is a long post. But it all happened so fast that sadly, there was no video. I wish there was, to prove her wrong, that nobody jumped her. Her boyfriend was in on it. He can't say he wasn't. He was throwing punches, pulling hair. He kicked. He choked, obviously. And I can't post a picture of me in the shirt, but I have a picture of my husband in the shirt where she ripped it. In her show, she ripped it on my chest right here. So that's a preview picture of this. But yeah, thank you for everyone that's commented and stuff, and for all the people commenting saying I'm wrong. Here's the story time of what happened. Nobody was there, they can't really say, but I have the screenshots of me commenting this real story on her post and her just deleting the whole post because she knows I'm right. But thank you, love y'all.
My parents had me when they were really old. Like, they were both 47 when I was born. So here are some of the best and worst things about having much older parents. Obviously the first bad one has got to be the obvious one, which is that I get less time with them. In fact, I already lost my dad earlier this year. My mum keeps on telling me, oh, don't worry, I've bought a double plot, so when I die, you can put me in there. Stop bringing it up. I feel like I really did have to come to terms with that fact, like, at a very young age, that I was going to lose my parents at a much earlier time than most of my friends. I actually feel very lucky that I made it to 24 with both of them. Obviously that's really hard, but I think the flip side of it is that because they were already later on in life when they had me, I had an extremely stable childhood because they already both had their careers established. Whereas I think a lot of people, when they're little, they can remember their parents really struggling and like still figuring things out. But mine already had it figured out, kind of. One of the worst things is that I felt like they were very out of touch with me when I was a child, like they didn't really understand my problems. Because the world I was living in, like with the internet and stuff, was kind of like not really massively on their radar. Especially like social media and stuff like that. Also, my dad was such a dinosaur. My mum did a really good job of kind of keeping up, but my dad was just like stuck in the 70s. I had to always tell him off for saying things that he shouldn't be saying. Another bad thing is that I never knew my grandparents. I had one grandparent when I was born and he died by the time I was 5. And I actually feel like that kind of made losing my dad harder because I feel like most people lose a grandparent first. And I have never lost anyone in my life and then I lost my dad. Another thing about having older parents is that my sister is a lot older than me. She was 19 when I was born, so we actually effectively had like separate childhoods, like we were almost like both only children. But even though we've got a bit more of an unusual relationship than most sisters, we are really close and I really, really value my relationship with her. Like when I was little, I used to go and stay with her in London and she used to take me out to like musicals, she took me to my first concert, we used to go on holiday together. This one might just be an only child thing, but I feel like I was always expected to be comfortable just talking to adults. Especially because my whole family is a lot older than me. Like, my mum's dad was an older dad, so he already had children from a previous marriage. So my mum's half sisters are now in their 90s. So my first cousins are in their 70s. They're the same age as my parents. So there was just like no one my age in my family, not even cousins or anyone like that. So I always felt really lonely as a kid. Like, there was just no one to hang out with. But I guess that could also be a good thing, because maybe I like matured more quickly. Anyway, this is just my thoughts on it, and I have a lot more I could say, so let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, so I kind of left y'all high and dry. I got married a month ago. But let me break down the situation, because my last video was about me, like, literally bawling my eyes out, being like, the church double booked my wedding date, like, what the heck. So, with the kids camp, a lot went into that. I, like, called the person, like, the church person, and I got the number of the camp lady, and I talked to her, and she was low-key, like, really manipulative. She came off the bat and she was like, obviously your wedding is like the most important, like that's a once in a lifetime thing and this camp happens every year. And then she was like, but I reserved this space, I signed my papers like 2 days before you did, like I it's my space, whatever. And so like, and then I was like, okay, like can we like meet up in person, figure this out, try and whatever. And she's like, yes. She's like, is your mom gonna be available? What's your mom's schedule look like? And I'm like, I'm a grown adult, like I can do it, but whatever. Yeah, so she was very like back and forth, and like she's like, oh, you're handling this so well, and I'm like, ah. Anyways, but it ended up working out. The church fully took my side, and they were like, no, like you can be okay with this because this is a wedding. Respectfully, you can still be on campus, but you're not going to use her spaces. And I was, thank you. And I had to fight for myself too. And to the point where I showed up on the day of, like, the day before the wedding. Like, I got it to where we were able to set up the day before the wedding, starting at, like, 12:30 or whatever. And then they were still going to be, like, in the space. Like, they had their backpacks against the wall for, like, pickup from the camp or whatever. And I was like, what? That's fine. That's totally fine. Whatever. You can be in here. You can grab your stuff and go. Like, but we need to be able to set up the day before. And I walked in. I was 30 minutes late to my own setup because I was getting everything together, doing all the things, and doing my hair trial. Whole other story. I'm gonna put that one next. Anyways, I showed up, and this camp lady is in the space, and she has tables set up over half the gym. And I walked up and I said, why are there still tables? I said, why? I was so over it. I was like, why do you still have tables set up? And she was like, well, I have the space until 12:30 tomorrow. And I said, no, you don't. You had it until 12:30 today. I was promised this space would be cleared of all of your stuff before 12:30 today, because we have this space until the end of Friday. And she was like, no, I paid a lot of money for this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is what we agreed. I was like, I can call up the church people. Like, this is what we agreed on. You need to move your stuff. And then she was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I have a lot of people here to help me set up. I said, actually, I will help. We'll clean it all up for you. We'll get it out of the way for you. And she was like, no, like, I don't touch my stuff. Like, and I was like, okay. Anyways, but other than that, it went really beautifully. I'll like upload more stuff about the wedding and like show you what it actually looked like. But yeah, next story time. Oh my gosh, my hair trial. Okay, here goes my other messy wedding story. So for my hair, I wanted an updo, but I was living in Nebraska and having my wedding in Houston, Texas. Okay, and so I've got like wavy, curly hair, whatever this is. And I was really worried about that, like being able to find someone who would actually like do with my hair, because I wanted to keep as much natural texture as I can and then just add to it. Okay, so that was already an issue. I struggled with it for so long, and then my mom ended up going and finding someone. No blame to my mom, by the way. She did the best that she could. Okay, no, she had no idea what was gonna happen. Okay, but she scheduled my appointment, or she found a person, scheduled my appointment. I didn't get back to Houston until a week before my wedding, so I ended up with my hair trial on the Tuesday. My wedding was on the Friday. I show up to this hair trial. My parents made my little brother come with me, and I showed up, and he was doing a girl's cutting her hair when we got there early. Curly hair, and I was like, oh, perfect, he knows how to do curly hair, that's amazing. Okay, and so then I get in the chair, and he's like, okay, like, what do you want it to look like what are your thoughts? Okay, let me show you my inspo. This was my biggest inspo pic right here. I have another one. So those are the two things that I showed him, and I told him that I wanted as much of my natural texture, and then just emphasizing my natural texture. as much as possible. Okay, this man took out a brush. He took out a brush and he starts brushing my hair, and I was like, maybe trust the process, but no. This is what my hair looked like when I showed up, for context. So man brushes my whole hair, and then it gets worse because then he decides to tease it, and he goes in with a fine-tooth comb and he brushes it down until it's about this far from the bottoms, and he like combs it down until it's like that, so all the knots are growing there, and then he teases it up at the bottoms too. Oh boy, oh boy. And then he gets out a thick curling rod about that big and curls all my hair. Okay, then he proceeds to like go to do like the updo, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't get any texture at the top, it's just not gonna work. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're taking a curling one and you're not starting the curls until here. Yep, you're not gonna get texture at the top. You brushed through my curls, you have a frizzy mess now, okay? And so then I'm literally sitting there. I think I started like tearing up at the point when he started brushing my hair, okay? And the whole time that he's like doing my hair, I'm literally like tearing up, like tears dripping down my face. I'm so glad my brother was looking at his phone. I would have sobbed my eyes out if he had been looking at me. So this all happens, and I'm like literally sitting there like crying in the chair, but he's not really noticing. He's focusing on my hair. And then he like does it, and he's like, yeah, so obviously like this is around what it would look like. It'd be a little bit different for the wedding. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna take it out before you go. And I was like, wait, let my little brother take pictures. This is what it looked like from the back. As soon as my brother started taking pictures, he started trying to curl more and be like, wait, it'll be better on the day, whatever. That's the back. Not awful, not what I wanted. Here's the part that really made me cry. What is that? What is that? What is that? That's just making like twice the size of my head. And I knew that he messed up, because what happened was I was going to pay for like the trial or whatever after he took it out. Oh, after he took it out, he goes, oh, when he looked at my natural hair, yeah, how you left my hair. Anyways, I go to pay, and he was like, anyways, if like, we can make it look a little bit different if you really want, but also if you want to find someone else, then that's okay too. And I'm like, yeah, you messed up then. If you're like telling me that I can go find someone else. But it's also 3 days before my wedding. What am I supposed to do? So I got home, and it was an actual mess. The ends of my hair felt like doll's hair, like disgusting. I tried to untangle it. I used a mask. It didn't work. I ended up going with the comb until it, like, I couldn't get the tangles out, and then chopping it off. So I chopped another 4 inches off my hair. 3 weeks before this, I had a minty bee in Nebraska, and I chopped 4 to 6 inches off. So my hair went from being literally butt length until like barely like boob, and now it's like a month later. So, and I've quit growing hair. Anyways, so that was a whole thing. And then I like texted my friends that were coming, my best friends that I was staying with, or that they were coming, saying whatever. And she was like, oh, I'm bringing all my hair stuff. We will be okay. We'll make it work for you. Okay. And my friends pulled it off. Trial with them day before the wedding. Much more what I wanted. Look how happy I am. Haha. Day of the wedding. There's a side view. Gorgeous. And here's the hair like from the top. Beautiful. My friends literally saved the day. They're amazing. So that was my second thing that went really wrong, and then we turned it around. Yay. Also, it doesn't look awful in this picture, but this was my hair after the appointment and before. So yeah, my friend saved my butt, and I had one of the worst hair experiences of my life. I don't trust people with my hair. I cut my own hair. They did my hair well, but that's the last time I'm going to a professional for my hair, because bad experience is only up for here.
Tipping culture is so bad right now. I have to tell you guys what happened tonight when I went to the Phillies game with my boyfriend. If you guys watched my Get Ready With Me, you know that I went to the Phillies game tonight with my boyfriend. We've had this date probably planned for like 2 to 3 weeks, and we've been so excited. Not that this ruined our date, but I just have to tell you guys what happened. So I recently turned 21 probably like a month ago. So of course, when we were going to the Phillies game today, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. You can finally get a drink. Even though the prices are actually insane there, like I paid $25 for a tall boy Surfside. And at first we weren't gonna get drinks because it's so insanely expensive, but we ate before the game. So we were like, we're not spending it on food. We might as well get one drink for the game. Like, this is an exciting date. We've never been to a Phillies game together. So I spent $25 on a tall boy Surfside, and then my boyfriend got a beer that was also $25. So we go to the line, like in the section that we're gonna sit at, and we open the fridge, get our tall boys, and we go to the self-checkout. We scan our drinks, and this lady comes over and she's like, can I see your IDs? And we're like, yeah, of course. So we pull out our IDs, we give it to her, and she like made a joke about us like being young, or I don't even know what she said. And then she handed it back to us, and then she proceeded to crack open our drinks.
and then I'm like putting my card up and paying it. And then, as most people say, when there's like a tip button on the screen, she said, oh, and it's gonna ask you a couple questions. Like when you're at a coffee shop or literally anywhere, they always like literally say that, like, oh, the screen is gonna ask you a couple questions, and it's always like tip 10%, 15, or 20. And I see that button and I'm thinking, I am literally a server, I rely on tips, and I'm sorry, I'm not tipping you. I'm paying $50 for 2 drinks at a Phillies game. I'm not tipping you. And the lowest amount, like the 10%, was I think $4 or something. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, she did nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but all she did was check our IDs and crack open the drink. Why would I leave her $5? I'm already paying $50 for this drink. And guys, I promise I'm not a cheap person. Like, I'm literally a server. Like, I rely on tips, but in this case, like, I was just not gonna tip. So I clicked no tip, and then she proceeds to make a really rude comment, and she was like, young people never tip, and like stormed away. And guys, that made me so mad. My boyfriend, immediately being the better person, was like, just let it be, like, let it be. But I literally said something. I was like, I don't even remember in the moment. I was so mad. But I think I said something along the lines of like, I'm paying $50 for 2 drinks. I'm not leaving you a tip. You did nothing. And like, I wasn't even trying to be petty and being like, you did nothing, but you genuinely did nothing. Like, I'm sorry. Why do these people expect us to tip you for literally doing nothing? You are getting paid literally a wage. And like, I don't know, that just like really irritated me, because like, I don't know who people are nowadays to just expect people to just give them money. Like, I'm sorry, no. Like, I'm paying $25 per drink. Like, no, I'm already spending an absurd amount of money, and you did absolutely nothing but stand there and check my ID, which is literally your job. Like, I opened the fridge, I got the drink I wanted, and I self-checked out. The whole situation just irritated me so much. And it's like, okay, pretend we were in a situation where I should have tipped you and I didn't. You still shouldn't have said something like that was rude. Anyways, I just had to share my story because I'm just like so in shock that that even happened. But yeah, let me know what you guys would have done in this situation.
I hired somebody to watch over my pets and my house while we were gone. We came back to find out that there were around 100 people at our house while we were gone. Let's talk about it. So to start off with a little bit of backstory, my husband is military and we moved to California from the East Coast about a year ago. All my family and friends and all of his family and friends are back on the East Coast. So when it came time for our wedding in March in Georgia, we were going to be gone for a week. We needed to find a pet sitter. We're going to call her Claire for the sake of her privacy. She was recommended to me by 2 people. I met her before we left for that week in March. She was only a year younger than I am. She was in college. She's in nursing. I saw a lot of myself in her, and as you will come to learn, and as my husband will tell me over and over again, I have way too much trust and respect and kindness for people that have not proven they deserve it, but that's how I lead, so I have to take responsibility a little bit for this. So she stays for that week in March while we are at our wedding. I told her that she could have someone stay over with her because I understand she's 21 and she's in a house that she doesn't know. For safety reasons, I told her she could absolutely have somebody stay with her. So when it came time for us to leave again on vacation to go visit my stepmom for her 60th birthday at the beach, I contacted her. She said absolutely fine, sounds good, but that she was recovering from a back injury. She was actually currently in the hospital when I asked her, so she would be taking it very low-key. Said that's totally fine. I am that white woman who treats her animals like they are children and human children. When it comes to them, I am anal. I write down all the instructions you could possibly need, answer all questions that you could possibly need, and I let her know that if you need anything at any point, let me know. Even during my wedding weekend, I was like, text me. I don't care, text me. Flew out Thursday, and then my husband was coming home Sunday, and I was coming home Wednesday. She texts me Saturday and asks if she can have a couple of friends over. I say that's fine. She's recovering from a back injury. She said she's laying it low. I'm thinking she just wants some people around her while she's recovering and watch some fucking Love Island or something. That was such a mistake. Part 2 is already up. If you have a bad feeling in your gut already, trust that intuition, because I didn't. My husband gets home Sunday evening. The first thing he notices, we have a sliding back door and we attached a $8 cheap fly net to the back. He texts me and tells me that the fly net is ripped to shreds. My first thought is, I have a 80-pound long-haired black husky. She left the husky out for longer than I told her was allowed, and she tried to get back in. That would explain it, so I go ahead and text her. She basically says, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. I didn't leave them out for longer than 10 minutes. My guess would be when I was in the shower and I left them out there, but it was never longer than 10 minutes. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. At this point, I'm getting a bad gut feeling because how do you not realize a screen that was previously there is now ripped to shreds on the ground with mud all over the door? Even my husband tells me to give her the benefit of the doubt. But that just goes to show she gave us no reason not to trust her.
Bad idea!
That's when she texts me. She texts me and tells me, by the way, last night when we were hanging out, one of my friends invited people that were not invited. I made them leave, but the cops came. I talked to them and told them everyone here is 21, but they checked IDs and left. Gave them your name and number, and yeah, I think your neighbors called, but not sure. The cops were pretty annoyed with the neighbors because nothing was wrong. Just want to let you know anyways. You're telling me there were cops at my house and you didn't call me? You're telling me that there were cops at my house, you didn't call me, then you wait for me to pay you to tell me. I am erratic. I'm shaking. I've never been this angry in my life. So I call my husband. Before I could even get a word out, my husband says, McKenna, our neighbor is irate. Our sweet, retired neighbor that spends the majority of his time with his grandkids, washing his car, or gardening, is irate. Our neighbor tells us that there were around 100 people at our house. The cops came, state troopers came, people were racing up and down our house, people were jumping fences, and there were people trying to fight our neighbors. My husband spends the next 2 hours walking neighbor to neighbor, door to door, apologizing and asking them what they saw. Because at this point, we only have what she told us and what he told us, which are two completely different stories. My husband gets home, sees there's property damage, and decides to call the local police department to ask genuinely what happened. The cops tell us that when they arrived, there was around 50 people in and around our house. They knocked on the door 3 times, nobody answered. They were about to kick down the door when Claire decides to answer the door. She then proceeds to lie about her name, my name, which is apparently now McKenna Smith. You couldn't come up with a better name than Smith. Lies about her relation to us and where we were. And gives them my number, which ended up just being a false phone number. You thought that was the end? No, it wasn't. Then my husband calls me back and tells me I'm gonna need you to sit down because at this point I am shaking, furious. I'm still at the beach with my mom and I am about to lose it. He says, I need you to sit down for this. Sasha is hurt. My dog is hurt. I have not fought somebody a day in my life because these arms can't punch, but these arms can sure hold up a gun. So I immediately book a flight home. I get back Monday morning. The first thing that I do is, of course, check on my dog. The second thing I do, and this can tell you I watch far too much true crime, I look in the trash because I know that if she's hiding anything, the proof will be in the trash can. I basically find a bunch of party stuff, tons of cigarette butts, a big ass back end of a blunt, lots of beer bottles, all that good stuff, some liquor bottles, whatever. So when I get home, I realize all of the damage that's actually done to like our belongings. Shockingly, nothing was taken from our house. By the grace of God. The property damage was that our bathroom windows screen looked like it was kicked through, and then it looked like somebody tried to jump the fence and broke the fence. So what I think exactly happened was there was a shoe print on our toilet seat. So it looked like somebody had put 1 foot on the toilet seat, 1 foot on the window sill, and then kicked through the screen door, jumped out, and then tried to jump the fence when the cops came, which tells me that there was definitely somebody that was under 21. So our Shiba Inu is completely fine. And then our 80-pound husky, Sasha, is limping. She's never been hurt a day in her life. She's a pretty clumsy dog, so it's actually kind of shocking that she hasn't been hurt. So that tells me that something did happen. So we take her to the vet, and they basically tell us they have no clue what's happening. Because when they touch her, squeeze her, whatever, she doesn't whimper, she doesn't whine. It doesn't seem like there's anything on the outside that's hurting. Luckily, once again, by the grace of God, she has been on the meds for 72 hours. She's gotten off of them, and she's right back to normal. But when I tell you, from the time that we got home until the time that she got on those meds, she was another dog. I was terrified. I mean, shit, that's my baby. So I'm ending this one on a good note. Sasha is doing much better, but there is a part 3 up that has just like what she said, what we communicated with her, what happened afterwards, and how we got our money. I had to wait a minute because for a second there we thought we were going to have to take legal action, and that's the reason why I am protecting her name, is because we all make mistakes, and in this day and age, one name drop and you're done. I truly think that she didn't learn anything from this experience, but my standards, my morals, I am not going to try to be vindictive or ruin somebody's life. I'm not going to drop low to her level, and I'm going to protect her name, so... Okay, so I'm kind of just going to post the text that happened. I tried to be as professional as I could because if in the case we had to take this to court, I needed to be professional. Basically, we had texted her just kind of explaining what we knew and how our trust was broken and what we expect in return. A couple of these texts we sent immediately, so we didn't know the extensiveness of what had happened. Some things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, she never really took full accountability. It always kind of seemed like she just, ignorance is bliss kind of thing, when I do believe that she knew kind of what was happening. Like I said before, I was just in college. I understand. If something were to go wrong at a house that I was pet sitting and this exact situation happened, what I would have rather happen is that she would have called me immediately, let me know what was going on, told me that, I'm sorry, McKenna, this has gotten out of control. I apologize. This is what's happened. Been absolutely clear with whatever had happened. Basically just took real accountability for everything that happened, because it would not have happened if she would have paid more attention. So this is the text that I had initially sent to her. This is what she texted back. This is what my husband texted back. Okay, keep in mind that this was right after I heard that my dog was hurt, and so I let go of my professionalism a little bit. I did. Okay, then she goes on to be like, same thing, I wasn't aware of anything happening, I didn't see that Sasha was hurt when I left, blah, 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 didn't know. Then at this point, my husband is like, you have two options. We will either take you to court, or you can either pay us back for what we paid you to pet sit, pay for Sasha's vet bill, and pay us $100 extra for the property damage. We gave her until today to pay it. She paid it last night, and before I end this, like, just let me remind you that, like, I do take some accountability for this. I did put too much trust in her. I shouldn't have allowed her to have people over in the first place, but I learned my lesson, safe to say, and genuinely, I just had to share this because while this was happening, I was like, this is a movie. I feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like I'm watching like a true crime movie right now. But all that being said, only hire people you trust. Always assume that people are not trustworthy until they give you a full reason to trust them. And maybe just like be cautious about college students. But that's all. Thanks for listening. Bye.
I had 20 grand saved up from high school sophomore year all the way to senior year, and let me just tell you how. So as you guys know, I do a lot of budgeting videos, and you guys love them. So I'm here to answer all your questions and kind of give more like of a breakdown of how I'm doing this and why I'm doing this. So I'm a waitress in my little small town. So I put my check into direct deposit that goes straight into the bank. My tips is what you guys see when I'm counting all the cash and you're like, why do you have so much cash? It's because I save it from Monday through Thursday is what I work, Monday through Thursday. And I put all my tips into a little envelope and then count it at the end of the week with you guys. So starting off back in, actually this was like freshman year, maybe even 8th grade. I had a little job and my parents made me put 50% of everything that I made, even tips, even paycheck, everything I had to put into the bank in savings. So I had to put 50% into my savings, and then the rest of that 50% I could put in my checking or I could spend it in cash. Didn't really matter as long as I put that 50%, and they were very adamant about it. No ifs, ands, and buts around here. So starting off, I think I was like 14 when I first got a job. It was just some little job. I worked on the weekends. It was just whatever. Starting then is when I started doing the 50% savings, 50% spend. I was 14. I didn't have no bills. I didn't have nothing. More towards the end of high school, I kind of quit doing the 50%. I had gas. I drove a big lifted up truck on 35. So I didn't really have that much money, especially during the winter months when I was not making as much tips. But I still tried to save at least 40, maybe 20 to 30. Anywhere from 20 to 50% is what I was trying to save. Fast forward to now, I'm 20 years old. I'm invested in stocks. I have a money market account, and I also have my savings at the bank.
But the savings that I'm doing now, I have a binder with 1 to 180. So in the 1 slot, I put $1. 2 slot, I put $2. All the way to 180, I put $180 in it. So by the end, when that is when that is completely filled, 180 slots are filled, I will have $16,300 and something dollars. And that is strictly for investments. So rainy day hits and I need that money, we're not touching it. We are saving that for investments strictly. And that is 25% of my total amount at the end of each week. And then on the other side, I do 40% savings at the bank. So savings at the bank is still a good way to save, 100%. But it doesn't gain as much interest as a money market or like another account like that would, if that makes any sense. I really am trying. I have filmed this thing 3 times. Filmed it 3 times because I really don't know how to explain it to you guys and actually make sense. But I'm trying. Anyways, so then the remaining is for me to spend however I need it to. That's like groceries or like if I want to like order a shirt or if I want to buy this or whatever I need to spend it on is what the remaining balance is for. At the end of the week, so the next week, so 7 days go by and I'm doing the budgeting again. The remaining balance, so let's just say I had $300 from the last week in the remaining balance. Say I have 100 of that left over. That will be added into that week's total. Just so I'm not like racking up the spending and I know that I will go spend something. And the way my brain works is if I have $400 and this thing costs $500, I will grab $100 to make myself be able to buy that. And we're not doing that. We're running a strict program. But anyways, I think that was everybody's questions. If you want any more tips and trips on how to budget or save money, please let me know in the comments and let me know which budgeting process you like better, the other one I used to do or the current one. Okay, love you guys. Bye.
So I just came back from my ex's house. Get ready with me while I tell you that story. So yesterday I posted a get ready with me talking about how I was seeing my ex that day. And honestly, I was scared, but it went well. I can't stop listening to Limp Bizkit right now, so don't mind that in the background. But so yeah, yesterday I saw him because I had a nail appointment. If you want the whole story, there's a video on my page like I just said. And it was so worth it. Look at these beauties. So yeah, at first, when he first picked me up, it was a bit awkward, but we talked a bit and like he asked me at some point like if I still wanted to stay over at his house. And I was like, yeah, that could be fun, but only if you're okay with it. We also talked about the fact that like we agreed to stay friends, and I know some people are not gonna be okay with like staying friends with their exes, and at first I was one of these people, but genuinely I know that I do not want to have a relationship with this person again, and he agrees with me. So like we just agreed to stay off as friends because we still appreciate each other. Like we can stay friends because we still have a lot in common and we love spending time together. A relationship just wasn't working out, and it's okay, it happens, but it's not a reason to lose someone if you have a real connection with them, and we agree on that. I love Limp Bizkit, oh my god. So we did talk about that like on the way to the nail appointment, and honestly it was a bit awkward, but not too much, not like I was expecting. I still had a good ride. We listened to music. It's something we love so much, both of us. It's something that we're truly passionate about, so that was fun. Then I got my nails done, and on the ride back home, we still talked a bit, and in the end, we agreed that I would stay over at his house that night. It was a bit awkward seeing his parents. I only saw his mom, but she is truly the sweetest, and she did not make this awkward at all. She was so happy to see me, and I was too, because his mom is such a cutie. I love her so much. So after that, he went to go take a shower, so I was alone for a bit, like 15 minutes in his room. I was just on my phone, and when he came back, he was only in PJ pants, like. But after that, we spent like maybe like 45 minutes just on our phones. Okay, and picture this. At some point, I was on my belly and he was next to me laying on his side, but like facing me. And like he asked me like, hey, do you want to cuddle? And I was like, I don't know. So we didn't cuddle. But that's not the end of the story. No. So after that, at some point, I asked him like, hey, are you okay? Like, just checking up. I always do that. And like, yeah, I'm just a bit bored. So we started talking. Not anything deep, just talking about everything. Work life, everything like that. At some point, it does get a little bit flirty. I'll spare the details, but you know what happened, and it's fine, okay? I was consenting, he was consenting, that's the important.
At the end of the night, we did talk a little bit more, but nothing deep. Just, you know, two friends, and I'm happy with that. He did fall asleep cuddling me. Cute. But honestly, I know it's not been that long, but I really did a lot of like self-reflecting, and I truly realized that I do not want to be in a relationship with this person, and I want to stay friends with him. Like, you know, it's still a person I find attractive, and I know I have good chemistry with, so if anything happens, it happens, but I just know it's not going to be a relationship, and I'm fine with that, and he's fine with that, so if we're both fine, we can do it. Anyways, there's not really much else to the story. We saw each other, and we both agreed we had a really good time, and I will see him again, probably next week, because there is a movie we want to see together. He offered it, and I want to see that movie. You know, love you guys.
Okay, so I saw someone do a trend where it was like, look up your high school and see what the first thing that pops up is. Now, I went to 2 different high schools, so we're gonna talk about it. First high school, Santa Clara High School. If you've ever been, if you are not, if you went to Santa Clara High School and you were not one of the popular kids, you understand. A little back. Oh my god, my hair is insane, guys. One sec. I didn't change it, but whatever. This school was huge. Around 2,000 kids. I think around 2,000 kids, yeah. If you ever went there, you know. I was kind of in the alt community kind of at the time. Bro, so much bullying. People were so fucking rude. And my elementary school bully went to that school and tried to bully me there. He's in jail now. But that school, they're known for a kid killing themselves. You want to know why? Because Santa Clara High School does not give a crap about bullying. They do not care. And you know who did it? A kid who was on junior varsity. The football kids bullying a junior varsity kid. He was a freshman and junior varsity. You know how insane you have to be to get on junior varsity freshman year? Bro was gonna be on varsity within sophomore year. Like, he was going to that point. Santa Clara High School does not care about anything as long as their sports team is up here. And guess what? They lose almost every game. But yeah, first high school, down. Horrible school. People suck there, for the most part. On to the second school. My second school is a continuation. I'm not going to say that one, because the teacher that I'm going to talk about is already gone. So, this headline, guess what? It doesn't pop up. There is no news on this situation at all for this school. And I was right in the middle of it. Okay, so sophomore year, I moved to this continuation school. I moved to this continuation school because with the guy, not gonna talk about it. That guy was around 2 years older than me, so he was a senior when I was a sophomore. That guy was a plague. So I started smoking with him, would smoke all the time. Yeah, guess what? One teacher at that school, guess what? He would buy from my boyfriend. My boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, but my ex-boyfriend was a plug, and one of the teachers would buy pens from him. Literally! The teacher, this happened to me and my friends one time. We were just hanging out in there. He literally made us leave the room so that my ex-boyfriend could give him a pen. And, let's just say, not one of my brightest moments, but, yeah, I smoked with him and my ex-boyfriend outside of school. Okay, and then after me and my ex broke up, actually not after this. Ooh, wait, So there was a senior field trip. I shouldn't have known anything because, you know, I'm not a senior, I'm not on the trip, but I got all my information from my ex-boyfriend. Yeah, that teacher on that senior field trip went with kids and smoked with a ton of kids. And there were already rumors, like, teachers around kind of knew, but the principal at that specific school does not give a fuck. Bro, she only cares about how she looks, she doesn't care. And the thing is, she'll have conversations with someone. You know what she does? She had the same conversation with me 3 times. How are you doing? Where do you work? Oh, we have someone that used to work there. Yeah, I know, because we've had this conversation 3 times. And if you talk to anyone at that school, they will all say they have had the same conversation with that principal over 3 times because she doesn't remember shit and does not care. Anyways, I had already told the teachers, like, hey, I know this stuff about this teacher, just let me know when, because I was done dating that person. Done with my ex. And they were the ones that had the connection, like, And I was already kind of over him, because, like, this teacher, a dick. And you know what got him in trouble? It wasn't even me. I told them, just let me know when you want me to talk, and I'll talk. Bro, okay, so this kid, like, he got mad at this kid, and the kid was in the quad. Keep in mind, you can walk from one side of the room, or one side of the school to the other within a minute. That's how small this school is. But I guess he was yelling at some kid, and this kid did not like it, yelled back. But what did he yell back in the courtyard for everyone to hear? Pedo! Yeah, so this teacher's a pedo too. Apparently his dick pic, yeah, it got leaked in an email around school. How the fuck does that happen? I think that he sent it to a kid on Snapchat and then they sent it to the whole school. That's what I think happened, but I don't know. I wasn't there when that happened. But this was his downfall, guys. This was his downfall. I had been saying ever since I broke up with my ex that before I left the school, I wanted to get this man fired because he was a dick. He's not a good teacher, guys. Buying from a student. Yeah, so the district attorney came and questioned me at school. I told them literally everything. I told them like there was stuff that I shouldn't have been able to know from that senior trip, but I knew it because, you know, ex-boyfriend told me. Got that motherfucker fired. Got that motherfucker fired. Yeah, but he fled to Tijuana to like evade it. So bro's in Tijuana now. So, but yeah, those are my 2 high school stories. One of them wasn't, you know, I didn't really have anything to do with it because I was gone from the school by the time that story came out. But huge story. And then yeah, continuation schools story. That one's a doozy.
Hey guys, I feel like talking today, so get ready with me as I tell you how my boyfriend of almost 1 year cheated on me during the whole relationship. Okay, for context, we were hanging out all last summer, and then he asked me out literally like a couple weeks before we went back to school, and we are long distance. I go to Temple and he goes to Penn State, and before you say anything, he isn't that type of guy to like do all that kind of stuff. Like, he barely drinks, he barely goes out, and yeah. Okay, so this man was literally like the best thing that has ever happened to me, right? Like, he always takes me on dates, like quality time, he always gives me flowers, like all of that, like the best boyfriend you could ever imagine, okay? And then it like started getting weird because at the beginning, you know how it's like silly week and we would have no work, so he would go to a lot of parties and stuff, and every single time he would go out, he would like barely text me. He would like barely text me whenever he went out. He would like shut his phone off so none of my texts would even send through. And also in the beginning of the semester, he had just rushed for a frat because I guess he like decided that it was time, and like he wanted to make more friends and stuff like that. And like it was not really a problem to me because I did trust him, and like, I mean, in the beginning he would update me, but I mean towards like the time where he had to rush, he didn't really do that. Okay, fast forward, we were at my house and he had just told me that he had planned a 1 year anniversary trip for us, and we were gonna go to Bora Bora, and then I just had an intuition where I had to just check his phone, right? So then when he wasn't looking, I went to go check his phone. Okay, anyways, yeah, I didn't have time to check it that much of the morning, but I did find this girl, let's just call her Amy, okay? And then the next couple times that we hung out, like when he would go to the bathroom, I'd be like, okay, I need to check his phone really quick. So then I would check it, and then I would go through all of their snaps, and I was like, who is Amy? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, it's just a friend that I met at school. Like, I met her on the first week. And like, and for context, they were like close during school, I guess, which is fine. Like, I don't really care, but it was just weird that like he didn't tell me until right now where I'm finding this thing. And so then I kept pressing him questions about it. He would just kind of like brush it off, right? And so I started to get a little sus. I'm like, why are you not telling me this? Like, what are you hiding? Whatever. So then the next day, he had unadded her on Snap, and I saw that when I was like going through it again, and I kept asking, I was like, why did you unadd her on Snap if like you had nothing with her, or like if you guys were just platonic? Like, what are you guys hiding? What are you hiding from me? Also, like, I am doing this because I did not want to go on a 1 year trip with him just to find out that he was like cheating on me or like not being loyal to me this whole time, and then I'm gonna look like a fool in our 1 year. Yeah. So then I go back on his phone and I ended up adding her back on Snap and like reading quickly through text messages, and I found out that they like hooked up in the beginning while we were dating. And I would see all the snaps. It would be like, what are you doing? And it'd be like shirtless pictures of him. Oh. And then my ass did not believe it, so I ended up DMing her on Instagram, and we had a 20-minute call, and I was just asking her like what had happened, this and this, and she did admit to like snapping him, saying all these things to him, and like reciprocating the snaps back, all this and this. And she said that she didn't know that he had a girlfriend. Like, he had told her that he did not have a girlfriend, this and this, whatever. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not her to blame if she didn't know, and it's really just my cheating, lying ass boyfriend. But you know what? Yeah. So whatever, we talked when I called her, and it basically cleared everything up to me. It just gave me confirmation that he was like a total dickhead. And like, there's something to cry over at that point. Like, it already happened. Like, what was done was done. It's just like, it sucks having to find out that he like cheated in the beginning of the relationship, and then like going back to like normal after, because that means the rest of the relationship was a lie. So yeah, it really upset me. And yeah, anyways, the best part about it was that I woke up and it ended up being the best snap I've ever taken in my life.
That the experience is pretty much behind me, I want to talk about my wedding dress from hell. I'm going to try to get through this without getting like too angry and freaking out. But basically I got a custom made wedding dress, I suppose. Last year in like September, October 2025, I started interviewing designers to go custom for my wedding dress because I wasn't really finding what I was looking for, and I knew I wanted something super simple. And I wanted the experience of going custom. I did the math of how much it would cost for me to make or to buy a new dress and also pay for alterations. And I basically kind of like combined that. And I was like, well, if I pad my budget a little bit, I could go custom, and then there are no alterations, it's custom. So in my mind, I was like, this is a worthy investment, even though it's very expensive. I meet with like maybe 4 designers, and I ended up going with this designer based here in New York who we are gonna call Kim, okay? And she really understood my vision. She like really got me right away. The first thing that we did was a Zoom call, which cost me $120, where I showed her my inspo and she drew me a sketch. So this was like the inspo that I provided her. This is a picture of me, and the reason I included this picture was because of the way it fit. I was like, this is the shape of the bodice that I'm after, you know, a little drop waist, super fitted. And then these ones I included as like general inspo of like kind of like a romantic shape. This is the sketch that she made me. In theory, like it has everything that I asked for. I remember thinking that like there could be more volume in the skirt at the top, but there was a little bit of pushback from her and my mom was there. They were both kind of like, let's start here. I think neither of them, maybe they didn't like my vision, I don't know, but this was the sketch. The next step was to go in for my prototype fitting. This was in November 2025, and the prototype is essentially a rough draft of the dress, and this is what mine looked like. I was happy with this. It fits me like a glove. I definitely had some edits. As you can see, there's like black Sharpie drawn on the bodice. That's because the princess seams, which are the seams that go like straight down the front right here, were really wide and straight, and I wanted them to be closer together and curved to give me a bit more of a shape. Also, this is like not a drop waist, and I wanted it to be dropped a bit. But other than that, like this fit me so well. This was the back. You can see there's like a blue line where it was giving me like crazy back fat. And I was like, let's lower that a little bit to get rid of that. And we were playing with like some lace, some bows. So that was in November. I don't go back until March, and you're not ready to see this. Okay, this is the first time I see my dress in the fabric, meaning that was a prototype. This is it made in the fabric. This is what I see when I walk in. Literally diabolical. The waist is like, it doesn't fit me at all. Like, this doesn't fit me at all. I'm floating in this dress. It's asymmetrical. One of the boobs is higher than the other. The princess seams have not been adjusted. They're wide. They're a weird shape. There's a weird like bunching happening right down the center of the dress. I'm clipped in. I was not clipped into the prototype. I'm clipped in the front. I'm also clipped in the back. I'll show you. The skirt is like deflated, and like this seam across the waist looks so bunchy and weird. This is the back of the dress. I'm completely clipped into it. Like, I was not clipped into the prototype. So I don't know what happened here, but I left this appointment freaking out. After that appointment, I sent my first kind of like firm email where it's just kind of like, I'm a little concerned. I'm not seeing a ton of progress. The notes that I gave in November aren't in the dress. Again, princess seams are not adjusted. It has not been a dropped waist. And like, where did the volume go in the skirt? I was like, what's happening here? And they respond, Kim responds, really nice. Don't worry. It takes a little bit of imagination. We're not there yet. And then I say, can we move my next fitting up? Because there's only supposed to be 3 fittings between the sketch and picking up the dress. And this is fitting number 2. So I'm like, well, I'm going to need more than 3 because there's a lot left to do. So we move my fitting up from March to, that one's at March. The next one's at May, which is this one. So I go in May and my dress looks like this. Dress number 3. This is a third dress. They don't even resemble each other. This is completely different. Still does not fit me. It does not fit me at all. And in this appointment, when I was there, I said, you can take this in a little bit. Like, the waist could be tighter. Like, look how much bunching there is. Like, it's not fitted against my body. And they literally told me no. They were like, no. Like, no, we can't really bring it in anymore. And I'm like, but you can, because it doesn't fit. Whatever. They also added cups to the boobs that are giving me like fish eyes. The waist, like the shape of that seam, we've completely lost it, and it's just kind of like sagging there. Let me zoom in. Okay, so maybe you can kind of see what I mean, but like this seam right here, it has like this weird bunching, and it's still not a drop waist. It's just like this weird seam, like barely holding it together. The cups are crazy. You can completely see them through the dress. And still, look at how wide and straight the princess seams are. Like, they have not been adjusted. The waist has not been dropped. The princess seams have not been adjusted. So at this point, I'm like, I'm freaking out. This is May. My wedding is in August, okay? I'm like, the dress is not gonna get done by these people, because the notes that I gave them in November that I've now reiterated and I've like raised the flags, they're like still not taking place. And again, this has been an expensive experience. Like, this is not like a cheap dress. Like, I've invested thousands of dollars into this dress. At this point, I've made 3 of my 4 payments, okay? There's only 4 payments. I've made 3 of them. They have all my money, okay? I'm so concerned and unhappy about the dress that I actually reach out to Kim and I say, I would like to move up. I would like to add another fitting, and I'm still not seeing these things, and I need you to execute these things, or I need you to tell me that you can't so that I can go elsewhere. Kim responds, she's like, don't worry, it's all gonna be fine. Let's add another fitting and we can have an honest conversation about the progress, like if you're not happy. I go, thank you. Then I start researching a little bit, and it dawns on me that if I need to buy another dress, I have to do it like that day because I only have so many weeks until my wedding, and, you know, shipping, all of these things. Like, I was kind of like, I have to make a game time decision. So I call my inner circle, and everyone is in agreement that this dress will not get where I want it to get in the next like 6 weeks until my wedding. So, or however many weeks. So I email Kim and I say, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I've really appreciated you and your team being so dedicated to my dress, but I think I need to end our relationship here because I'm not seeing the progress I need to see, and this close to my wedding, like, I can't, like, I only have so many options, but like, thank you for all your hard work from here. Can we please arrange a partial refund? I wasn't sure what she would say to that. You know what I mean? Part of me was like, she's gonna say no. Like, she's like, of course she's gonna like keep the money and run. We have no contract. But the other part of me was kind of like, well, if she cares about like her reputation and she knows that I'm leaving like unhappy, like, I'm asking for a partial refund, not a full refund. And I'm also not asking for a finished dress because the dress is unfinished, and I'm telling her that they can stop working on it. So I thought that a partial refund would be fair. She responds to me and she just says no. She's like, no, the dress, you need to come in for another fitting and your payment's due. That's like literally what she says. So I get some advice from different people, and I basically was like, okay, if you are like refusing to end this partnership with me, which by the way, why not? Like, why do you want to work with me if I don't want to work with you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. No integrity, no artistic integrity, no like business integrity of like her reputation. No, she's not interested in making me happy, nothing. So I was kind of like, okay, well, like, here's all of the things that I need to see in my fitting. And if these things are not present, our agreement is null, but I'll come in. So I went in. Okay, these photos are from June. Reminder, wedding is the 1st of August. This is June. Dress number 4. Like, what is this? This dress looks completely different from the other dresses, okay? I'm gonna zoom in. Okay, I am still completely pinned into this dress. Do you see all of those pins? Yeah, it doesn't fit me. The nipples are in 2 different places. The boobs are like this. She did fix the princess seams, but they're wide on the boob, and then they go in, which is so weird. The top of the dress is so high up, it's like cutting into my arms, which the last one was not doing. And the waist, although it fits me better, like at least it's more fitted, look at all the wrinkling and bunching. Again, still pinned in, all the wrinkling and bunching. This has not been dropped. This has been in the same place the whole entire time. This is what the back of it looks like. Again, we are like a month and some change out from my wedding, and I'm covered in pen and I'm clipped into this dress, including the pins in the front. I'm completely clipped into this dress. Weeks away. I also just want to say that everyone I know who works in fashion, I've shown them this dress and they are all mortified. Like, when I tell you I got 2nd, 3rd, 4th opinion. So yeah, it's not gonna happen. I like can tell it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because she does like demand that I pay at the end of this appointment. Okay, wedding dress from hell part 2. A reminder of where we left off. We are less than 2 months away from my wedding, and this is what my very expensive custom gown looks like. Yeah. So at the end of this appointment, she pulls me into this room, and Kim pulls me into this room that I've never been in before. And I said to her, like, oh, is this new? Because I'd never seen it before. And she was like, no. It's like, okay. She sits down behind this desk with this comically big, like, Mac screen. It's massive. She's like peeking over it like this to make eye contact with me. And she goes, it's just a matter of your payment. Keep in mind. Okay, keep in mind. This dress was only supposed to be covered in 4 payments. I've made 3 of them. And I've had to have extra fittings because this dress is terrible. Like, I'm just gonna say it. This dress looks like it's worth $900 on ASOS. Like, this is a cheap ass Shein looking dress that I have sunk thousands of dollars into, okay? So, and I know that she was trying to intimidate me, but you can't intimidate me that easily. And so I was just like, well, I'll pay when I approve of the dress. And she was like, okay, so you'll come back next week and you'll pay then? And I said, I'll pay when I approve of the dress. Like, I'll pay like at final pickup approval. She goes, okay, thank you for coming, and like ushers me out. That really pissed me off because, again, she just has like a complete lack of integrity. And like, you guys, this girl works with like all of the New York City influencer girlies. Like, you've seen her on Instagram. Like, I was shocked that she really did not care about just like treating me really poorly. And like, was she gonna let me walk down the aisle in that dress and be like, yeah, Kim made this, and she was gonna be happy about that? Like, we have different ideas of like what a good dress is if she was gonna be proud of that dress and proud of that construction. Anyway, so she follows up with me after that appointment, and she's like, hey, so your dress is ready for pickup. Like 4 days later, she's like, your dress is ready for pickup and you have a payment due. And I go, okay, well, I have some questions. I was like, why is it that my dress is suddenly ready for pickup when things I've been asking for since November, they hadn't taken place in March, they hadn't taken place in May, they hadn't taken place in June, and now you're telling me that between the beginning of June and the end of June, suddenly my dress is ready for pickup. Like, what changed in that time? She sends me this ChatGPT ass response, just like GPT, whatever, basically telling me like, well, pretty much all of the construction is done. And I'm like, but it isn't done because I've had the same notes since the end of last year. Like, what do you mean? It's not done. So I repeat myself. I go, sorry, let me clarify. Like, I'm interested in understanding what's changed because I trusted you for all of these months and I even ended our relationship and you pushed back the whole time. And now all of a sudden you're telling me that the dress is ready for pickup. What changed? She copy and pastes her last email and sends it to me again. She just sends me the same thing. So at this point, I'm like, I can't wear this dress. Like, not only is it like a really ugly dress that was really poorly made and just looks like a cheap like school project, I also, like, this girl has like the worst energy. She's got the worst energy, and I'm like, well, I don't want that on my wedding day. I don't want your like tainted vibes on my wedding day. Like, I don't need that. So I do have a different dress, and that dress is a whole other story, and it's amazing, and I'm very excited to wear it. And so I sent her an email literally like a week ago, because she kept asking me to come in and not answering my questions. So I sent her an email like a week ago being like, hey Kim, I had to go in another direction, like, wish you the best. So that was my second time breaking up with her, and I know I will never hear from her again. I will not hear from her again. She's going to keep my money. She's not going to apologize. She's not going to say, like, I'm sorry that you didn't have the experience that we take pride in brides having with us. Like, she has no integrity. And I mean, I'm not gonna like say her name on here. Her name, I like blurred the background in all of those photos. Like, I'm not trying to blow her up, but best believe I am telling everyone I know in the industry, like all of my friends who work in fashion, all of my friends who work in fashion PR, all of my friends who work in media, the only thing you can do in New York City is like word of mouth. And like, I am not being shy about this experience because I literally feel like she scammed me. I feel like she never made my account a priority. And in addition to being incredibly rude to me, she never put the proper amount of time and effort into a garment that I paid for. And so I know she's gonna keep my money. She must really need it. Okay. And I know I'll never hear from her again. And it's like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And I forgot a detail. And this is reminding me. In the last appointment where she pulled me into the room and was like, you need to pay, that day, that night, she sent me a DocuSign with all of the notes on it from that day's fitting. Granted. After my first fitting in fabric, which was like pretty insane, I said, moving forward, I want to receive all of the notes after each fitting so I can make sure that we're like tracking with like the same goals in mind. She never did that. It was always me following up being like, this is everything that like, that I'm recapping our fitting. This is everything that needs to take place before the next appointment. Like, I was the one who ended up doing all of that. And then after that fitting where she pulls me in a room and asks me to pay, she sends me a DocuSign. And I'm like, no. You think you're going to send me some sort of legal document? You're going to get me to like sign something? You should have given me a contract from the jump. That's your bad that you didn't. That's on you, okay? I'm not doing that now. So I literally responded and I was like, I'm not going to move forward with that. Trying to play me. Okay, wedding dress from hell, the good part edition. Okay, this is a case of wine, ignore it. I just want to say that I do have an incredible and amazing wedding dress. And I reached out. I was in San Francisco for one day with my mom, and it was the only day that I was going to be in San Francisco or be with my mom until my wedding. It was like the one day that we had together. So I was like, this is my only opportunity to go wedding dress shopping with my mom before my wedding. So I reached out to this like little local business in San Francisco in the marina, and I told them a bit of my backstory. I said, listen, I'm out all of this money on this custom dress that doesn't fit me, and I am like freaking out because my wedding is soon, and like I really want to wear something beautiful. They had no appointments available for the one day that I had with my mom, and so I was like, if there's any way you can squeeze me in, I will be quick. I only need 30 minutes. They respond and they say, we are not open, but we will open for you. They literally opened for me. It like makes me want to cry. They were so nice. And I sent her my inspo photos, and we chatted, and she had like a rack of dresses waiting for me. And my mom actually pulled the dress that I ended up getting, and it's so beautiful. And my wedding is in 2.5 weeks, and I can't wait to show everybody the dress after that. And it was just like the best experience ever. So I'll put the name. If you're looking for an incredible bridal spot to go in San Francisco, I went to Unveiled Bridal in the marina, and the owner helped me, and it's like owned by these two sisters, and they are just like magical, sweet women, and they've helped me every step of the way. They helped me get an alterations person, even here in New York. They helped me set that up. They've been checking in on the progress. They've just been so kind. They really take a lot of pride in their business, and I am like thrilled. I'm like thrilled that I had the opportunity to like support them and work with them, and thank God, I love my dress.
Hi guys, get ready with me for work. It's Friday, so I work on home on Fridays, which I know most people probably wouldn't be putting makeup on to work from home. However, I film a lot of content for my job when I'm home, so don't want to look super chopped. So I've officially started my dating arc, and I just want to say it is not off to a good start at all. So I went on a date on Wednesday. So this guy had planned the date the Thursday before. He plans it, I say, okay, great, and then I don't hear from him since. So I'm like, I know that's some people's like style, which like honestly like I kind of rock with that. Like I don't want to be your texting buddy. But then it became the day of, and I still didn't hear anything. Like, I would think maybe you'd confirm, like, the morning of or the day before. But it was getting to be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Our date was at 7:30. Still didn't hear anything. So I was like, am I going to this or not? So eventually I just texted because I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I'm asking. So I'm like, hey, like, are we still on for tonight? And he's like, oh, yeah, I was just about to text you. The fuck you weren't. No, you weren't. And then he's like, yeah, like, we're good, whatever. So I get ready for this at work, okay? That's why this was also, like, annoying me that I hadn't got this confirmation yet, because I, like, packed my bag. So anyway, I get ready. I do my makeup. I change my outfit. And then I have, like, still have some time, and I didn't, like, do my hair, obviously. Like, I wasn't about to, like, bring, like, a hair tool to work. Like, I was already pushing it with the makeup and the outfit change. So I was like, oh, my hair looks so bad. So I ended up booking an appointment at Dry Bar. Yeah. So I go to Dry Bar. I'm, like, in Dry Bar, and he texts me, and he's like, oh, by the way, like, I forgot to mention this, but, like, this is just drinks, like, I'm eating before, like, if you don't, then, like, you want to get something to eat, like, that's fine, but, okay. So I thought this was dinner, number one, because it was at a restaurant. Like, I feel like if it's, like, a drinks date, it's not at a restaurant, like, it's at, like, a bar, you know? So I assumed we were eating, so obviously I didn't eat anything, and if you know me, I hate eating on dates, so this was, like, kind of a relief to me, but I was just like, well, why weren't you transparent about this? Like, why would I assume that? And now it's, like, an hour before, like, bruh. So anyway, I just don't eat anything. Also, like, why would I order something to eat and you're not eating something? Like, that would be so weird. So I'm just like, okay, whatever, like, I'm just not gonna eat anything, I'll live. Then he texted me, so it was supposed to be at 7:30, then he texted me, I'm gonna be late, I'm gonna be there at, like, 7:45. Okay. Like, all of these things leading up to this were just, like, really bothering me, but, like, I committed to go, so I'm still going. Like, I'm just not gonna not go, like, you know, like, I'm still showing up. But all this was just, like, very annoying to me, and I felt like there was just, like, an intense lack of planning and, like, consideration for me. Anyway, I get there, he's sitting there, he has a drink already, and then he, like, starts looking at the menu, and he's, like, talking about, like, wine or something. Mind you, like, I'm not big on wine. Also, this is literally the second date I've been on where, like, men have been big into wine. I'm like, what? Anyway, so I'm like, oh, I don't really know much about this, but, like, if this is something you're into, like, I'd be happy to try it. That's not exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of that, right? And he's like, no, get what you want. Get what you want. And I was like, no, but, like, I'm interested in learning more about this. So, like, if that's what, like, if you know about this, like, sure, you know?
And he was like, no, get what you want. I was like, okay, fine. So we're just like blabbing. We actually had like weird amount of things in common. So, I mean, it was fine. I don't know. I feel like the conversation itself was fine, but then he was doing things where I was like, what the hell? What the hell? I swear to God, we're sitting at that table 2 times. 2 times. He's popping zins in his mouth twice. I'm like, you can't go the length of this without a zin in your mouth. Like, are we for real? And I'm not even judging the fact that he zins. Like, okay, like, we all have our vices. Like, I don't really care about that. It's just the fact that he couldn't wait. Like, you had to do it at the table. Like, the fuck? And he was, like, trying to be, like, super nonchalant about it, too. And, like, not make it super obvious. I was like, babe, this is real obvious. This is super obvious, actually. Okay, anyway, I get 1 drink. Also, it takes me forever to get my drink. Like, it literally takes me forever. And now that I look back on it, he knew the name of the waiter. So I'm like, you bring bitches here all the time? Like, what? Anyway, it takes me forever to get my drink. I get 1 drink. I get a vodka soda. Also, I felt like, because he was like, I don't have, like, a fancy drink that I get. Like, I'm 23. Like, I don't have, like, a fancy drink. Mind you, this guy wasn't even old either. Like, he graduated the same year as me. So I'm like, I don't have a fancy drink to get. Like, I don't know. Like, because he was like, oh, like, what drink do you usually get? And I was like, oh, I just get, like, a vodka soda, bruh. Like, I don't have, like, some fancy-ass drink that I be getting. Like, I don't be getting, like, a Negroni or something. Like, babe, I'm 23. Like, I'm just drinking to get the job done. So, yeah, it takes forever to get my drink. Whatever. The conversation's actually pretty okay. The thing is, though, he also, like, was not funny at all. Like, I didn't laugh a singular time. I didn't find him to be... I don't know if he just wasn't trying to be funny or he just straight up was not funny. I'm not too sure about that. Also, he revealed that he was a theater kid in high school. But he claims that it was, like, required at his school that everybody does some, like, arts thing. I don't know. He don't look like a theater kid. That's why I was like, hello? So anyway, then we leave, and he's like, he walks me to the train. And first of all, he's like, oh, you can take the train from Grand Central, right? And I was like, yeah, but, like, I'm gonna have to transfer, so, like, I don't really feel like doing that. And, whatever, I'm just like, it's fine, like, I'll just transfer, like, whatever, it's fine. Even though, like, I kind of wanted to just go to Penn Station, but okay, like, I'm like, you don't need to walk me to the train, like, you don't need to do that. So we're walking to the train, and then he starts chiefing the vape. I'm like, are we for real? Like, are we actually for real? Like, you really could not go this amount of time without any sort of nicotine, like, and it's crazy that there was 2 different kinds, like, it's like, goddamn. Then we're, like, walking there, and we walk past the street where his apartment is, and he's like, oh, my apartment's down there. I'm like, cool. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, it's right down there. I'm like, okay. Like, are you trying to coerce me into going there, or, like, what? I'm just like, okay, cool. And he says it again, and I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Like, great. I don't know. Then he drops me at the train. No, like, smooching attempt, thank God. And, like, I just give him a hug goodbye and, like, whatever. Like, and then I leave. And he was like, oh, like, text me when you get home. I'm like, okay. So I end up just doing that because, you know, after you go on your date, you're supposed to be, like, polite and, like, text him thank you. I will say he did pay for everything, like, not a problem. Like, okay, he could with that. But I was like, I'm not liking this. I don't think I'm liking this. So, like, my overall review of this was, like, was I like, oh, I really like him? No. There were multiple red flags. But did I think we had a lot in common? Yes. And I feel like I had a fine time, like, talking to him. So, like, sure, I'd go on a second date with him. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of just what I'm gauging. Like, I don't think I'm finding my husband anytime soon. So, like, you know what? I'm just doing this for, like, fun and practice, you know? Well, then I text him the whole, like, thank you, blah, 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 annoying nonsense, polite nonsense. the night of, and today's Friday. He never answered me. He ghosted my ass. I'm like, that's crazy for you to be ghosting me. You're the one sitting at the table putting zins in your mouth. Like, what the fuck? Girl, I don't know. Hi guys, I'm baking my face, but I forgot that this happened. So anyway, we were talking about like high school or something, and he was like, oh, I went to a Catholic boarding school. Okay, big guy. But anyway, I was like, oh, I went to a Catholic school, like an all-girls school. So we were just like talking about like uniform, and he was like, oh, like I didn't have a uniform, but I had to wear like a suit and a tie to school every day. And I was like, oh, the all-boys school on Long Island, they just wear a suit and a tie. I'm from Long Island, he's from Jersey, okay? And he goes, oh, that's St. Anthony's, right? I'm like, no, it's not St. Anthony's. I'm like, St. Anthony's is co-ed, and they have a uniform. So I'm like, no, it's not St. Anthony's. And then he literally tries to start arguing with me about it. He's like, no, I think it's St. Anthony's. And I was like, no, it's not. It's Chaminade. It's Chaminade. And he literally is like, well, there must be 2 St. Anthony's then. I'm like, no, there isn't. There's only one. And I just told you what the answer was. Like, you're just flat out wrong. And he's like, no, I think there's 2. Like, he's trying to argue with me about, I'm like, why are you trying to argue with me on something like clearly you don't know anything about? I went to a Catholic high school on Long Island. Like, I know the rundown of them. Like, what are you talking about? And he keeps trying to argue with me that there's 2 St. Anthony's. And eventually, I just go, I think I know more about this than you probably do. Gagged his ass. Because I was like, why are you trying to argue with me about that? Like, it's just weird. I'm like, why are you trying to be a know-it-all about something that you literally know nothing about? I'm like, you're not even from here. You're not even from here. Why would you know that? Like, I'm not sitting here claiming that I know shit about the Catholic schools in New Jersey because I don't know anything about them. I don't. Maybe I know a little bit about the ones in Connecticut, but I would never argue with someone from Connecticut that went to a Catholic high school about them. Like, I literally was like, I think I know more about this than you. Literally the nerve. Oh, also, he was like talking about the Jersey Shore, and I was like, oh, have you ever been to Parker House? And he's like, oh, yeah, I've been to Parker House, whatever. And I was like, oh, do you have, like, that fancy card to get in? And he was like, no, like, you have to be a resident of wherever. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. So anyway, I'm like, oh, have you ever seen Alex Earl there? He didn't know who Alex Earl was. The Queen of New Jersey. How can you be from New Jersey and not know who the Queen of New Jersey is? He didn't know who she was. He was like, I don't know who that is. I was like, the fuck? But do you know who he did know? Livy Dunn. He knew who Livy Dunn was. He was like, the only like influencer I know is that one that's like the gymnast. I was like, Livy Dunn. Like, we really lost the plot. Livy Dunn. And then I was explaining to him as to why like women don't like Livy Dunn. I was like, because she doesn't appeal to girls. Like, Alex Earl appeals to girls. Like, her main, like, point of being online isn't for, like, men. Like, she does, like, get ready with me. She has, like, a personality. Like, it's like, Livy Dunn is not for the girls. It's like, of course, that's the one you know. A flipping course. Of course. Not knowing Alex Earl and being from New Jersey is actually nuts to me. Like, what? I don't know.
Story time. And get ready with me as I talk about how my ex was emotionally manipulative for the past 10 years of my life. We met in high school. We were both 17 and we met like through mutual friends. Flash forward to about 4.5 years later. My ex was in the Marines out in California for a year. And during that time, he had proposed to me. Once he came back from California to be back in Texas, we never like made it official, like that we were engaged. We were just like, oh, it's whatever. Like, we're just still dating. Like, I had a ring, which that ring that he got me, he never paid for. His parents paid for it. So he came back from the military. The day after my birthday, he had, and this is when we were 4.5 years in, He messaged me over text saying he wanted to break up, he didn't want to be with me anymore. I was like so distraught. I couldn't sleep by myself. My mom had to sleep with me. I couldn't eat. My body was constantly shaking. I just felt like I was like always having a panic attack. I was dumb. I loved him more than anything in the world. I like basically begged for him back. Literally the whole reason of him breaking up with me was just so he could go sleep with some girl. So I get back with him. Flash forward to August of 2023. Him and I take a trip to Santa Rosa Beach in Florida, and he proposes to me there again. So this is the second time. It's with the same ring too. I'm in dental hygiene school at this point. Obviously a stressful time. The like following year, so the beginning of 2024, he was acting weird. And like I remember telling him, I was like, you know what, I love you, but I don't feel like we're in love. Like something's off. And he would always play it off like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, no. And it's like, no, something like this isn't right. And so I told him, I said, look, if I call off this engagement, like for one, my dad, but everyone in my family is not going to forgive you for it. Because at this point, I want to say I had already bought my wedding dress, which was like $1,600. We were going to get married that December back in Florida again. We were going to get a really big house and just do immediate family. My parents paid half, his parents paid half for that house. And then I also did a down payment for the photographer. So I told him, I'm like, okay, look, if I like have to cancel all these things, it's not going to look good. And he was like, no, I still love you. Like, I still want to get married. And his biggest thing too is he wanted a long engagement, a 2-year-long engagement. And I'm like, this is dumb. We had already been together 8 years at that point. Like, that wasn't enough time. What? Just enough time for him to realize he didn't want to be with me is what it was. So June of 2024, I call off the engagement. He was so upset about it, whatever. Although I don't think he was that upset. I'm almost positive he started using steroids. He was saying like how he loved getting attention from girls in the gym. This shade is so not my color. We're gonna roll with it though. Call off the engagement, June of 2024. He's okay with it. Like, I mean, he was upset because he was like, I still love you, but whatever. September of that year, he messaged me and he said, oh, I'm moving to Florida. We start talking a little bit. Well, then I meet a guy in October of that year. I date him for a couple months. My ex like flipped out about it. And then that guy and I break up. My ex comes into town for the holidays. He reaches out to me on Instagram. Well, I reach back out to him because I still love him and like I still want to see him. So that Christmas, I see him for the next year. So for all of 2025, he would come in from Florida, hang out with me. We would stay together, sleep together. And like during that year, anytime he would come into town, like every now and then, it wasn't every time, but every now and then I would look at his phone and I would see that like he was messaging girls, but I just kind of like pushed it aside. I was just like, oh, it's whatever. Dumb. I was so dumb. And it was actually really funny because a lot of the girls would end up unfollowing him like a week or two later. So what a loser. And so all of 2025, I don't talk to anyone. I don't date anyone. None of that because I wanted to be back with him because I loved him so much. October of that year, I see that there is a TikTok page for his dog. And I noticed that a girl is like petting his dog. And I'm like, well, he's in town at this point. And I call him out and I'm like, what is this? He's like, oh, it's nothing. She's just a friend. She just watches my dog. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna believe you for what you're saying. Shouldn't have. He goes back home to Florida after that. His parents fly out before Thanksgiving to like watch a comedy show. And then they drive all the way back to Texas for the holidays. So he was here in Texas. It was like 2 to 3 weeks. The whole time though, we're seeing each other. We're sleeping together. And I still remember he left like, it was before Christmas. And I was so upset because I wanted him to stay like through Christmas. Before he had left, I mean, I was crying my eyes out to him. Like, I'm like, I love you. I just want you to stay. And he was like, no, I need to go. And I was like, okay, I get it. January rolls around and he was like, oh, I feel like we should just stop talking to each other. And I was like, we should stop talking to each other because you're never gonna commit. Like, I'm done. But I was so upset about it because I loved him and wanted to be with him. Not even, but like 2 weeks later, like I end up blocking this man. I block him. He finds numbers to reach out to me or would email me. So he gets a different number. This is like middle of January. I want to say it was like January 14th, if I'm right. He reaches out to me and he's like, oh, I just want to let you know I haven't moved on. I still out here trying for us, all the things, a big spiel. And this was on a different phone number because I had him blocked. Like I told myself that if he ever reached out to me, I would reach out to him. So I reached back out to him. And I remember in that text, I said something like, I don't know if you want me to talk to you because you had said you don't want me to, so I don't get it. Then he started saying stuff like, well, distance, like, you know, is good for us. Like, it makes me realize what I had with you, like things like that. So I had unblocked him. He would reach out to me like every week or every 2 weeks. So now he's unblocked at this point. And like, I always just had like the intuition of him reaching out to me. I was always like, man, I wonder if he's gonna reach out to me soon. And sure enough, like that night he would reach out to me. I remember like going out with my friends and them telling me, I would like show her the messages between us. And I was like, look, he still says he loves me, wants to be with me. Well, she would look at the message and she'd be like, Aaron, what time did he send these? And I would look and I'm like, oh, it's like, it would be like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, late. So she told me, she was like, Aaron, this looks like he is sleeping with a girl and is like feeling regret and reaching out to you. And I was like, no, there's no way. That's so silly. Well, back in October, when I saw that TikTok page of that dog, I figured out who the girl was because she was the only one that was following that page and that was like following him on Instagram. I knew, and I always had her name in the back of my head. March rolls around, the girl posts another TikTok of the dog. It's like him holding the dog and then she's blow drying him. And I'm like pissed off about it. Well, before that, I go get my hair done. His mom and his sister go to the same hair lady as I do. The day I go get my hair done, my hair lady is like, hey, Sarah's coming in at whatever time. Like, are you gonna be okay? And I'm like, no, that's fine. Like, we get along. And this is his sister, by the way. And like, I'm not worried about it. Like, it's fine. She's like, okay, well, the sister comes in. Her and I like talk a little bit. And then at the end, before she sits down, I'm like, I give her a hug and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna message your mom and like tell her that I saw you today. So I remember messaging his mom that day, like, hey, saw Sarah at the hair salon. Hope y'all are doing well. She never texts me back. And so I'm like, okay, this is weird. Something's going on. Well, then I see the TikTok and I'm like, okay, this is weird. No girl is gonna make a TikTok page for your dog if she just wants to be friends. Like, no, that's dumb. So I call him out and I send him a screenshot and I'm like, be for real. What's going on? Well, he messages me back and he's like, nothing's going on. I'm single, telling me he's depressed, everything without me. I believe him. Then April rolls around and he reaches out to me. He's like, hey, have you done anything since we last talked? Which basically he's asking me, have I slept with anyone? Have I talked to anyone? Whatever. I tell him, I'm like, no, I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't gone on any dates. I haven't done anything because I wanted to be with him. And so I asked him, I said, have you done anything? He goes, no, I've been over here depressed. He was like, I haven't done anything, blah, 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 whatever. I think it's like the beginning of May. He like had emailed me, but then I didn't hear from him for like a week, I think, which was normal. Like he would kind of go a week or 2 weeks without reaching out to me. I go see my hair lady, get my hair done, and she always asks me like, has he reached out to you? Has he talked to you? And you know, I tell her, I'm like, you know, we talk to each other every now and then, but it's not all the time. That day, he messages me over text and he goes, you caught me a long time ago. I've been in a relationship for these past few months. basically saying like he's destroyed 3 of our lives now because she left him because she saw the emails between us. Like, I had always told myself if I see a picture of him with a girl or whatever, I'm gonna be okay. Like, everything's gonna be fine. That, like, broke me. That was bad. I call him, he doesn't answer, and he's like, oh, I think I need to be by myself and face my consequences alone. That night, he calls me, though. And we talk. He's like crying on the phone, and I said, look, like, obviously I'm pissed about what happened, but I care about you. Like, I do want to make sure you're okay, because I loved him, still loved him. He's telling me all these things, like, about this girl. He's like, oh, she's not affectionate, she doesn't like to be touched, which I'm like, I don't know why you're telling me these things. And then also, come to find out, I asked him, I said, because my hair lady had said that he had been in town since December, and I'm like, what? Like, there's no way. He never saw me. Like, he would not come into town and not see me. And so I asked him, I said, have you been in town since December? And he was like, no, it's been a long time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, have you been in town since December? And he was like, well, yeah, I came in one time. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, why would you come into town and not see me? Like, you've never done that before. That doesn't make any sense. He goes, oh, you don't know how hard it was. I wanted to see you so bad. And I asked him, I said, wait, did you bring that girl back with you? He was like, yeah, I did. So his whole family sees this girl. So I know exactly who it is. I didn't even have to say her name. The day after that, after we get off the phone, and like on the phone, he tells me too, he's like, oh, basically like if I ever decide I want to be with you, you need to hop on a plane and come out here and live with me. So the next day, I'm like reaching out to friends and I'm like, hey, like, has he ever posted this girl? Did he ever say he was in a relationship? Anything like that? Everyone's like, no, I haven't seen anything. I'm like, okay. So then he kept this relationship a secret from everyone, I guess. Well, then he messages me and he's like, oh no, I've posted her. They've seen her. Then I kind of just go off on him. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm done. We're done. I thought the girl was gonna reach out to me. She never did, and I remember him telling me 2 times. He said, do not reach out to her. And he said, like, if she reaches out to you, you need to block her. Like, don't show her anything. Because she only saw the emails between us, which was nothing compared to the text. Then I saw his mom because I was, like, selling things to her, like, things that had, like, a tie to him. I was like, I need it out of my place. Well, I see her, she says like, oh, please don't reach out to her. So then at this point, I'm like calling my friends and I'm like, okay, I'm getting told 3 times not to say anything. I think I need to say something. All of them were like, yeah, you need to reach out. So I message her and I'm like, hey, you know, him and I were together for 8.5 years. We were engaged. I know that you saw all the emails between us, but we have like a bunch of texts as well if you want to see those. And I said, like, if I truly knew y'all were together, I would not have talked to him at all, because I always had a gut feeling he was with someone, because I would like send him texts like, oh, tell your girlfriend I said hi, and he'd be like, oh, what are you talking about, whatever. So I sent her that message. 3 days later, she reaches out to me and she was like, no, I know y'all have a long history together. I like don't want to see anything because I don't think it'll bring anything positive for me. I just want to move forward. And my friends are with me. They see the text and they see the message from her and they're like, oh, it sounds like she's moving on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm getting no confirmation from this that she's broken up with him. So 2 weeks go by and I'm just like, I have this intuition that she's still with him. And so I'm telling my friends, I'm like, okay, either I'm going to crash out and post all of our text to TikTok, or I need to send her the text. So all my friends were like, you need to send them to her. Like, you needed to send them to her a long time ago anyways. So it's a 20-minute long screen recording of all of our texts between each other. I send it to her and I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to delete everything off of my phone of him, but this is here if you want it. She immediately, like within the hour, messages me back and she goes, did y'all sleep together in November? And I'm like, yes, we did. Like, anytime we came into town, we slept together. She goes, very interesting. I go, so I said, he told me that y'all started talking in October and officially started dating in January. He never gave me like official dates or anything like that. She goes, we actually met in September. We slept together before he came home for the holidays. So he slept with her before he slept with me. She said they officially started dating in January, but we're like basically living together since December. All this time, he's reaching out to me. He's in a relationship with this girl. Insane. Like, and he the whole time was telling me he was single. He loved me. He missed me. So he was cheating on her with me. There's no denying it. I messaged her a little and I asked, like I told my friends, I said, should I ask if she's still dating him? And they're like, yeah, you should. So I was just like, hey, are y'all still living together? She was like, well, we technically don't live together. Like, he still has his place. Like, he comes and stays at mine a lot. And she goes, yeah, we're trying to work through everything. And then she asked me if he's reached out to me since then. Girl, I don't know how to help you at this point. I've given you all the proof that he cheated on you. Why do you care if he's reached out to me? You clearly don't. You want to stay with him. So then I just tell her, I'm like, yeah, we had this long phone call, like the day he told me everything. And he was telling me all these things about you and said, like, I need to hop on a plane to go live with him. And I told her, look, cheating runs in his family. Good luck to you and God bless. And so, backstory, his dad basically had an affair on his mom almost the entirety of the time we were together. So for like 8 years, and it was the same woman the whole time. Well, then I find like a text that he had sent me. It was in January, but it was on a different number because I had blocked him at the time, but I didn't send it to her. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a missed opportunity. So I posted it to my Instagram story and I'm just like, this man got new numbers to reach out to me, blah, blah, blah. Like, I never sent it to the girl. She's watching all my stories. Like, I'm on public, so she's watching every story I post. So I post that. Then I make a TikTok about it, post it to my Instagram. She watches that. After that, my ex's sister reaches out to me. And she's like, basically like, I don't know why you sent those text messages to that girl. I know it's hard for you to see him move on. She never wanted to see those texts anyways. I don't know why you sent them. Like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, her not wanting to see these texts when she immediately asked me if we had slept together. Like, it's obvious that he's lying to her about the situation. Like, he lied to her the whole first 6 months of their relationship. Like, come on. His sister sends me that text. I posted to my Instagram story and I said something like, cheaters defending cheaters, runs in the family. Then she texts me again. Like, I can't see your stuff and I don't think any of your followers care to see what you have to say about our family. Like, girl, please, people love this. Then I think a day or two later, I get a phone call from my dad. And I'm like, I just immediately know. I'm like, oh, someone reached out to him. I just know it. So I pick up the phone and I'm like, yes. And he's like, why is Steve reaching out to me? And that's my ex's dad. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, well, what did he say? And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, oh, you need to call me so we can talk about, like, I guess what I was posting or something like that. I don't know. Because my dad, at that point, he just didn't care. He was like, this is weird. Why is his dad, we're both 28. Like, why is his dad reaching out to me? We're adults here. This is so weird. My dad was like, yeah, I'm just going to delete this. I'm not reaching back out to this man. And so I tell both my parents about what happened. He hasn't reached out to me since, but we'll see. I have a feeling he will soon. But yeah, that's my story about my ex and how he lied to me forever. And I'm also willing to post the screen recording of our text too to show the proof, if anyone wants to see it.
All right, story time. I'm driving down the road and I'm bored, and everybody tells me all the time I need to write a book about all of my experiences, but I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you a tale on Tik Tok. So this is the story about how I broke off an engagement and had to take out a restraining order all within like a week's time. It was a crazy ride, yes, crazy, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So let me set the stage. First of all, this was 20 years ago. I have been married for 18 years. I'm happily married, so this had no bearing on my whole entire life. However, it was a bit crazy when it happened, and we're gonna name the guy Carl, okay? His name's not Carl, but Carl it is. So Carl was a divorced person who did not have any children. I was divorced, but I had 2 young elementary school children, a daughter and a son. And basically, I had seen some red flags, okay? Leading up to this whole situation, there were red flags, okay? So, first of all, Carl had a drinking problem. I didn't throw red flags at it for the longest time because, quite frankly, Carl was a functioning alcoholic and he was quite hilarious. I mean, a lot of fun to be around. And he never yelled at me or, cussed me out or said mean things or anything. Like, he wasn't like that. So, I'd seen other drunk people and they were just, assholes and couldn't stand to be around them. And it was just a train wreck and they couldn't manage themselves. But Carl wasn't like that. Carl kind of was handling his business, but there was definitely a drinking problem. So, anyway, also, the other red flag was I had my own home that I purchased after my first divorce, and my kids were very established in a school district. They had sports they were involved in. There was neighborhood kids. There was just all the fun things, right? Not to mention my mother owned some property that was directly across the street from the neighborhood that I was living in at the time. So there was, like lots of good positive reasons to stick in the house I was in. And that was acceptable for Carl for a while. But then as we got closer to like getting married, Carl was like, no, we're gonna move you to my house. Okay, Carl had a cabin near the lake, and it was like my kids would have, even though it was close in proximity, it still required a school district change. The whole support with my mom being right across the street would be gone. There was just a lot of reasons I did not want to move into Carl's house. Plus, my kids had their own bedrooms. They'd have to go and share a room, or it would involve a huge construction project to get Carl's cabin up to par. And another thing, I'm not a cabin girl, okay? Like, not my thing. I just don't like it. I don't like rustic. I'm more of the contemporary modern lady. So anyway, I was starting to like see some red flags, and I was kind of in the back of my head going, oh shit, I'm in too deep. I do not want to uproot my kids. I'm not moving. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. That was how I was feeling at the time. But I continued to say, oh my God, I have bought these flights. We've already paid for the Ritz-Carlton. We've already got our stuff going to Vegas. We were going to elope to Vegas. And I've already bought my dress. Like, I'm too far. I'm too far in. I can't back out now. So, long story short, around the same time that all of this was going down and I'm starting to panic and freak out about where are we going to live, and I can't do this, and I don't want to do this, and all this stuff, and also, is he drinking too much? Should I be worried about that? Am I making a big mistake? It was like a lot going on, and I was quite young at the time, and I probably wasn't making good sound decisions. So who stepped up to be like, girl, you're not making good sound decisions? It was my mother. Okay, my mom was like, girl, you need to think twice about this. This ain't smart, and you don't need to be dragging your kids up in this business, and you need to get a handle on yourself, and this is crazy. So Carl kind of was sensing my mom's tone and decided one afternoon, drunk, of course, to give her a call and show his ass, okay? Carl called my mother and was just like telling her things like, oh, whenever I marry your daughter next month, you'll never see your grandkids because I'll be in charge of what happens, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, whoa. So needless to say, that went over not well with my mother. I recall being at my office where I worked at the time and getting a call from her, pissed. She's like, that son of a bitch, blah, 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 blah. And, and I'm like, okay, hold up. You don't have to worry about anything because he's already crossed all the lines, okay? He's crossed all the lines whenever he called you to talk about the fact that you won't be seeing my kids. That's crazy, okay? So I was like, ooh, here's my opportunity. Here's my opportunity. So I called Carl, we'll call him Carl, and I said, listen, I'm coming to your house because we need to talk. And I'm on my way there now, actually. And you called my mom. Like, what the hell were you thinking? And he's like, oh, he's screaming and hollering, and he's really pissed off and all this, which led him into, like, the whole tone was, like, why he even called her in the first place. He was just in a bad mood that day, I guess. So I go to his house with full intentions of basically cutting this whole thing off and just being like, you're not going to tell me and my mother what we're going to do with these kids. That's crazy. Well, around that time, I received a phone call from a couple of people. Couple of people that were friends of his at the lake. Okay, he had his own company and he had a boat and he spent a lot of time out on the lake, whereas I only spent kid-free weekends, which was every other weekend, out on the lake with him. I knew the people out there, but I didn't spend all the time out there like he did, and he had like plenty of ample time to do whatever he wanted to because I was busy with my kids doing my kid things. So I get a phone call by some people out at the lake, and their whole tone was like this: hey, listen, you're a good girl, you've got good kids, you've got a good thing going, and it was all fine when you two were dating, but now that y'all are talking about getting married, like, there's some shit you need to know. He's living like a double life with you that you don't really understand, and we want you to before you jump the fence over here. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And I get the old, well, he sells drugs out at the lake. And I'm like, what? So I learned that substance abuse drinking Carl also had extracurricular drug activities going on that I had no idea about and was not okay with. And so I'm like, oh, there's my opportunity. There's those red flags. I don't have to worry about this anymore because I'm out. I'm out, and I will cancel everything. I don't care. I will lose my flight number. I will take it all. I will hit rock bottom on this one financially. I don't care. I'm out. And so I kind of looked at the whole thing like it was this huge blessing in disguise. And so I was definitely in over my head. So I go to his house and I go to get the wedding dress primarily, or I would have just called him and been like, this is over and blah, blah, blah. So I confronted him on what I had learned about his extracurricular activities out on the lake, being the pusher. And he denied it and was like, that's bullshit, I didn't do that, and all this stuff. Well, mind you, he was extremely wasted the day I went over there to tell him that I'm not marrying him anymore and I needed my wedding dress back and that we were done. Well, he was pissed and he screamed and he hollered, and I basically grabbed my shit and I just left. I'm like, I'm out. So he did not take that well, and the next events is basically what led up to a restraining order. So catch you on part 2. Okay, part 2. So this is how I went from getting married to taking out a restraining order. So where we left off is I basically found out that he was dealing drugs on the lake, kind of living a little double life. And I already had some red flags about not wanting to go through with this. I felt like I was really in over my head at this point. So I went home. I took that wedding dress back. I went home and I basically proceeded to receive phone call after phone call after phone call threatening me. It went all hours of the night. It was crazy. Clearly Carl was taking his product because the guy didn't sleep for what seemed like days. Okay, it seemed like days, but this was 20 years ago, so it could have been 2, and I'm just overthinking it. But anyway, the phone calls were very bipolar, and I have voicemail after voicemail after voicemail, and I had to start deleting voicemails because I knew I needed to keep something for evidence, because clearly I was going to die. Okay, like he was going to kill me, because he was very obvious about that and clear in his messages. But then the next message would be like, hey, I love you, we can get through this, and crying. So it was all over the board. Well, I wasn't going to take anything for granted, and I was acting like, the dude's going to come and kill me, clearly, because I watch a lot of murder mysteries, and these things happen, and I wasn't going to be a victim. So ended up that weekend was my kid-free weekend, and I was going to stay at home alone, but I was quite afraid, so I did stay Friday night at my mother's house. Well, of course, he showed up there drunk, and my brother had to shoo him off the property. He you know, screamed and hollered for a minute, but he left. We didn't have to call the police or anything. My family's like, last people we're going to call is the popo, but he left. Fortunately, we didn't have to go that route. But he was, you know, he was intent on coming to the house, trying to find me, leaving me all these voicemails. And so I knew he was pissed, okay? Like, it was pretty obvious to me that he was not in a good mental place. So I was already on high alert. Well, ended up that Saturday, my son had a baseball game. Well, Carl was a sponsor of the baseball team, and I, you know, so everybody at the park knew him, and he would come to the games and all that kind of stuff. So when I get there, I was praying that Carl wouldn't be there because he knew the baseball schedule. Well, he wasn't there, but I was met in the parking lot by my son's coach and the team mom. The team mom was a foster parent, and that's a mandatory reporter, okay? He made phone calls to them. He called both the coach and the team mom to tell them that I beat my children and that Blaine, my son, who was about 6 at the time, was abused, and that I was, you know, abusing him, and that was why he was not going to marry me anymore, because I'm an abuser. Well, they both were like, something's not adding up here, because we'd been playing with these people for a few years. This was like the 3rd season, I think. They knew me, they knew my son, they knew my ex-husband, they knew how close we all are, that we just weren't those people. And so they were kind of like shaking their head, scratching their head, going, this is not adding up. So I was like, oh my gosh, he's called and accused me of beating my children. This is crazy. So unfortunately, because she's a mandatory reporter, the team mom says, I do need to talk to Blaine. I'm going to pull him off to the side. Do you mind? I'm like, you do what you got to do. She goes, well, I can't do it in your presence. Like, you do what you got to do. Go ask my son if I beat him. So that all happened. I got cleared, of course, and they sent me on about my day and all that. Well, I thought, well, that was rude. How dare he do that? That was rude. Oh, that was just the beginning. So then I get a phone call from the school. The school on Monday is telling me that they had a phone call and they had talked to Blaine, and they couldn't find any truth to it, but they were kind of like, you need to know this happened. And I explained to them what was happening, so they were all like, we're gonna let it go. So that was very relieving, let me tell you. I was like, phew, don't want the school involved. So then I get to work, and I get there, and I had worked in a very small office, and this was like every day there was a new thing, right? Rolling with the punches. So I get to the office, and they're like, hey, Carl has called us, and Carl has said that you're a child abuser, and also we are in fear for your life because the voicemails that he sent, you can clearly tell he's on something. He's all geeked up, and he's like all over the place in this voicemail. It's a bit crazy, and he said you're beating your children, but we don't believe that, and we think that you're in trouble, and we unfortunately can't have you here at the office. We're afraid he's going to show up and take you and everybody else with him, so we need for you to go home. Yeah, that's what we needed you. We need you to go home for a work for a week at home, which back then, way before COVID, nobody worked at home. It was, you went home, you were off, like, sorry, Charlie, nothing to do. So I ended up, like, literally every day it was something else. I got met by at the door, hey, you're a child abuser. You've got this crazy guy leaving voicemails. He needs for you to call him. You know, it was insane. So then I get a call from my now husband, right? We were not friends, and he was at the lake one day by himself, and here comes Carl, and he's like, have you seen Julie? And if not, you need to tell that bitch that she better return my phone calls, because if she doesn't, that bitch is going to pay for it, and her kids are too. And he was very concerned, okay? My husband was concerned. He was like, guy wasn't right, and they knew him. They were like, nope, he's not right, he's on something, he's geeked up, and he is on a warpath. And so he calls my husband, my now husband, he calls, finds out what my phone number is from some other people out at the lake, and he's like, listen, this is what happened, don't take this lightly, do you have a pew pew? Because if you don't, I can lend you one because you need one. This guy's crazy and you shouldn't be staying at your house. And like, I'm worried about you. So ended up meeting him and getting a pew pew to protect myself for temporary measures because it was getting way out of hand. And then he was even at the lake threatening me. So I got hit at the school, I got hit at my job, I got hit at the ballpark, I got hit from the lake people looking for me. Like, he came to my house multiple times. He did come to my house within the first 48 hours before he came to my mother's house. I forgot this part. And I basically opened the door and said, listen, you can't be here. I have nothing to say to you. And he ended up throwing everything off of the hall tree that was at the front door into the floor, screaming and hollering. And I had a Bible on my hall tree, and he threw that at me. Like, he just threw a Bible at me. So anyway, I was being very careful, and the voicemails just continued night after night to pile up. The guy wouldn't sleep for 2 or 3 days straight. It was insane, like definitely geeked up on drugs. And then it would be like silent, and I'd be like, whoa, he crashed. He finally crashed, okay? And it'd be like 8 hours of peace, and then the shit would start back. It was crazy, and this went on for days, okay? Well, how the restraining order came about was, as if all of that wasn't enough, it was, I came home one day to pick up my kids. Their bus stop was my mother's driveway, because again, my mother lived across the street from the entrance of my neighborhood. And she ended up keeping the kids every day. They'd get off the bus, go to her house, do their homework, eat their snacks, and I would get off work and pick them up and take them home and eat dinner, and it was a great time. So I show up after work, and there's a strange van in my mother's driveway, and I'm like, what's going on? And I get met at the door by my mother, who's like, DFAX is here. Meet me at part 3.
Part 3. All right, so DFAX is at my mother's house when I get home from work to pick up my children. And again, I noticed like this strange van in the driveway when I pull in, and I'm like, that's crazy. And my mother meets me at the door, and Mom's like, DFAX is here, and you better do whatever they say. If you don't cooperate, they will take your children, Julie. They will take your children. And I'm like, okay, you're right. This is bad. This is really bad. So fortunately, by the time I come in the house, it was a gentleman from DFAX. He had already taken each of my children into separate rooms and asked them all the things. I was accused of beating them, starving them, touching my son inappropriately was briefly mentioned in the conversation. Like, yuck. So tons of things were put out there that were just totally not accurate. And he basically had picked that up from talking to the children. And again, when my son was like maybe 6 and my daughter was like 8 or 9, probably 9, I don't know, 8, somewhere in there. So they were still young. And it was tragic, okay? This was one of the most tragic things I've ever experienced, because the fear of someone taking my children was awful. Like, gut-wrenching fear that there is someone in this home that has the power to take my children from me without my permission. That is crazy. And I just, that was where things flipped for Carl. And I had my phone with me, and of course the phone I had strategically saved certain voicemails out of all of those millions of voicemails, and I saved the ones that were like, you better call me back or your kids are going to pay for it. All of the threatening things that involved my children and me, and it was just one after another, to the point where when the gentleman left, he was kind of like, I'm not worried about your kids, I'm worried about you. Like, you need help, you need a restraining order, you need to like be serious about your safety, and this isn't going to get any better. So he was right. He was definitely right. And I had been, expecting to do something, but it was just snowballing day after day after day into something additional. So he he ended up making me sign a contract before he left. He was like, look, this is the deal. When I showed up, the home here, the fact that you live across the way, this is where your kids come to your mother's every day. They're having snacks, they're doing homework, like the structure here is impressive. Like this is love and structure. And I already am sensing that this isn't accurate. Like this doesn't seem right. And just know that our job at DFACS, when we have the accusations that were made against you and your kids, like we take them and then ask questions later. But I can't do that. Like my feel here is telling me like this is bogus. And so kids of course tell them there's nothing going on. Yes, they had been spanked in their lives because I was a spanker. I wasn't a beater. I would spank you, okay? You have to really deserve to get a spanking if you're going to get a spanking. But yes, I'm not even going to lie. My kids were spanked. And so evidently that was blown way, way, way out of proportion, obviously. So in the state of Georgia, it is legal to spank your kids. They refer to that as corporal punishment. That doesn't mean you can beat your children. It means you can spank your children. Big difference here. And quite frankly, one of my kids didn't even have to be spanked. If I just looked at them sideways, that was enough. They were in line. So each kid was given different punishment. So anyway, I signed a contract basically saying that I would not, use any type of spanking in my disciplinary actions any longer. And I remember just feeling so violated to sign that paperwork. It wasn't the fact that they were, trying to ask me not to beat my kids. That wasn't my problem. My problem was, don't tell me what to do. Like, I don't need you telling me, the government, telling me how to raise my children and what I can and can't do whenever you clearly admit that what I'm doing is not wrong. Okay, so anyway, that rubbed me the wrong way. But I remember looking down at the document thinking to myself, there's no way in Hades I'm signing this. And looking up at my mother going, you better sign that shit. They will take your kids. You better sign it. So I signed it away. And long story short, he left, and he basically left with the whole, you need to get yourself some protection. I'm worried about you. And there was a follow-up from this gentleman a couple of days later where the voicemails were still coming in from Carl into DFACS, and they were late at night calls. They were, all over the place, geeked out, just totally like, he called me a few days later and was like, this is still happening here at DFACS. Like, this guy is still making these phone calls. You really need to be doing something about your safety, which I had already done that. So after DFACS leaves, I tell my mother, I'm like, listen, I've got to go outside. I've got to call Chuck. Chuck was my father, or my children's father, my ex-husband. And I'm like, I got to go call Chuck about this. This is bad. And I went out to the place that she had in her backyard, and I sat on the swing, and I remember calling him, and I was just devastated. I was bawling. I'm like, I have put our children in such a bad position because I've allowed a lunatic in our lives. I've done this. Like, my actions of poor choice of people in our lives has caused this, and I'm freaking out. So of course, Chuck, my ex, he's like, nope, not your fault. But we're not going to allow this lunatic to have any more power here. So we're taking a restraining order out. You and me, we're going to go do this together because these are our kids, and you and I, we're going to protect our kids together. There's no judgment here. This is a let's get together and take care of business. So that's exactly what we did. The next morning, we met each other, and we did exactly that. How do you take out a restraining order? We didn't know, but you go to the Women's Battered Center, you fill out some paperwork, then you go to the courthouse, and then, you just do all these things to get it all taken care of. So eventually he was served within a day or two, a TPO. Pissed him off. I didn't realize it at the time, but when he got divorced from his first wife, she had to take out a restraining order on him. And she actually worked for the courts. She was a court reporter. And ironically enough, one of our hearings that we had over this restraining order was the judge that she works for, and she was the court reporter for the hearing, which was quite interesting. But and I think I represented myself, and I think I even at one point was just like, yeah, he also did that to her over there. Like, anyway, that was a fun fact. But anyway, he violated the TPO, or the restraining order, once it was actively official and approved in the courts. He did violate it at one point and got in some trouble, and we had a follow-up hearing. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got fines, if he got time. Like, I have no idea what happened to Carl, but Carl is no longer around in my life after that last me calling the police when he violated the restraining order. That was the last time I heard from Carl. I don't know if he's still an alcoholic, if he still lives in the area, if he's still alive. I have no idea, but that was about 20 years ago. And that's my story. I almost married a drug addict, alcoholic, crazy lunatic person, and I'm glad I didn't. So if you ever get in over your head and you feel like you're involved in something that you're just like, I'm too far in and I can't get out of this, you can. It's never too late. You always have options. I should have ran like I stole something whenever I realized that he, had the issues that he had, instead of accepting an engagement ring. So it's never too late. Have a good day.
My favorite part of my nighttime routine has to be when I take this beautiful little pill that will make me sad, fat, hormonal, but guess what? It will protect me.
Welcome back. I have yet another story time. Before I start, I do want to preface that I went to many different schools growing up. I know many people. I went to multiple different high schools, so you might know this person, you might not know this person, so everyone who's asking who it is, I'm not telling. That's the whole point of these stories. You might know this person, you probably know this person, but you'll probably never figure it out. So anyways, let me set the scene. It is freshman year. I am friends with these two girls. They are sisters, and we end up getting really close. Cool. I have these great friends. They invite me over for a sleepover. I go to the sleepover. It was a Saturday night, and I remember, like, if you stay over on a Saturday night, you had to go to church on Sunday with the whole fam, which is totally fine. So the night starts, and we make Muddy Buddies, like the Chex Mix, And so we make that, we eat that, and we go in the room to get dressed to go to bed, right? They're like, all right, let's get dressed, let's go to sleep, whatever. And I was like, all right, like, head on out, y'all. I'm gonna get dressed. And they're like, no. I'm sorry, what do you mean no? And they're like, get dressed right here, right now. Right here, right now, you're gonna get dressed. We're all gonna get dressed together. Actually, we're all gonna get booty butt naked and get dressed together. No, I'm not. And you can't make me. So I end up lying, and I'm like, actually, like, I forgot my PJs. Can't get dressed. I'm gonna sleep in this. So I make my little spot on the floor. I get down on the ground. I'm ready to go to sleep. They end up getting undressed. Sisters, they shared a room. Beds on opposite side of the room. They end up getting undressed. Booty, butt naked. Birthday suits, okay? And they end up just, like, touching up on each other. Not in, like, a sexual way. More in, like, an exploring, curious way. Like, regardless, it was fucking weird, all right? It was very strange. Their sisters were 13. The whole thing's weird. And I'm like, what? Huh? And they're like, oh, like, we do this all the time. Like, this is totally normal for, like, sisters to do. Now, I don't have any sisters, so I wouldn't know. I didn't grow up with sisters. But I'm gonna stretch and say that's not normal, right? That's not normal. I'm not crazy. That's not normal. That's weird. Especially the whole touching up on each other. Knock it off. And then they further it and they go, well, when we shower, like, we shower together. Like, you can totally join us. It's totally normal. That's what I'm Not gonna do. Hard no. Now they're like mid fondling sesh, right? It's dark. Weird, okay? And they were chatting, and it was kind of loud, and like they were just like fucking off, doing whatever, talking, and they were a little loud. And Dad walks in, okay? Dad walks in the room mid fondle session. I'm on the floor, laying down, clothed. Thank you. Dad walks in, and mind you, if I'm naked and my dad walks in the room, I'm covering up, and he's oh my god, and leaving, right? Right. Not this father. No. This father looks them in the eyes and is like, hey, go to bed. And they're just goodies out, just like, okay, Dad. What? What? If you don't put those yiddies away and hide and get the I'm excited for church in the morning. So anyways, the whole situation was weird. We end up going to bed. They finally go to bed at some point, and we go to church the next morning. After that, never spoke to them again. They said all kinds of like weird stuff about me that I heard through the grapevine, learned about myself. That was pretty cool, but like just weird, just so strange. The whole thing was very weird. I never spoke to them again. I think I'm still blocked. I don't really know. They blocked me. I never spoke to them again. I don't remember if I ever told this story. I might have told people at the time how fucking weird that was, like my best friend at the time, but like I didn't go around. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't really have any friends. So like yeah, that was crazy. That's my story time. Welcome back. We have another story time. Again, for the sake of saving names, we're going to say that this girl's name is Maddie. I believe Maddie was a junior. She might have been a senior when I was a freshman, but I'm pretty sure she was a junior. Her and her boyfriend were going through a tough time. I was Maddie's best friend, and so when they break up, she needed somebody to go to prom with. She had already bought the tickets for prom. She had 2 tickets, and she was like, will you go with me? And I was like, duh. So Maddie is also one of those friends that was, I think our friendship was genuine, but she was definitely, I think she kicked off the friendship with trying to get to my brother. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But so Maddie and I decide we're gonna go to prom together. Cool, right? So Maddie then starts saying like she can't afford X, Y, and Z, whatever. And I'm so excited to go to prom. My family's so excited that I'm going to prom, that my mom and everyone was offering to pay for whatever. Buy the limo, we'll pay you back for the tickets, we'll buy your prom dress. My dad bought my prom dress, and I bought my prom dress at David's Bridal. And if you know anything about David's Bridal, it's no refunds. You can get, I think, store credit, but what am I going to do with a $400 store credit at David's Bridal if I return my dress, right? I'm talking days before prom that I'm supposed to go to, that I have a dress for, that my mom paid for my stuff, whoever paid for whatever, like, it's a done deal. I'm going to this prom, right? No, wrong. I didn't go to prom. She got back with that awful boyfriend of hers, and yeah, I didn't go to prom, and they went to prom together. Also, after that, I was still friends with her. Maddie also would do like weird stuff, and she would, and I don't know what she was spinning to her parents, but she would invite me over, and then like her boyfriend, if it was her boyfriend at the time or not, like they were on again, off again constantly, but she then would invite me over, and then the boyfriend would come over. And I remember one time she was like, you hide under the bed, like boyfriend doesn't know that you're here, hide under the bed. And I was like, okay, they had just broken up, so I'm assuming I'm the best friend, I'm gonna hear the fight, this is gonna be good, right? Wrong. It was not a fight. I am a freshman in high school, and my best friend and her boyfriend have sex on the bed above me while I'm underneath listening to the whole time. Never once was she like, all right, Haley, like you gotta maybe head out, girl. No. And then afterwards, she was like, what'd you think? Babe, I think I'm traumatized. I'm a child. I'm 13. I think I'm traumatized. Maddie also was like the first girl to be like, I don't know, she was talking to me about sex. I think it was like the first time I like that I can recall growing up talking about sex. And she was like, have you ever, like, do you know what it is, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, we should watch porn together. Like, me and all my other girlfriends, like, we watch porn together. And I was like, I guess. So, like, so Maddie, we get, like, on the floor, and she turns on Omegle. If you know, you know. Maddie turns on Omegle, and it's all creepy guys and their peens, and they're just whacking, and she's, like, feeding into all of it. Mind you, we are children. Like I said, I think she's a junior. I'm a freshman. The whole thing was so strange. We're at her house. Like, I just remember the whole, like, I remember what I was wearing. Like, this was crazy. And I remember her, like, flashing them, showing them things, trying to encourage me to show things, guys talking to us crazy. Like, if you remember Omegle, you know Omegle was crazy. And this girl fed into all of it. It was wild. And as I mentioned before, she wasn't as bad with it as the other girl was, but this girl, Maddie, was into my brother so hard. Even though she had a boyfriend, so into my brother. And she was on again, off again with that other boy, whatever. So into my brother. She would ask about my brother. I remember she asked me about how big he was. Strange question to ask the dude's sister, because I couldn't tell ya, you weirdo. And, like, through all the weird stuff she would do, and all the weird stuff all these people would do, all these girls would do, or like, my friends would do to me, with me, whatever, or around me. So crazy. And I remained their friend. Like, she was my friend to be with my brother. Which I believe ended up happening. Like, I don't know. Like, do you ever meet those people that are just, like, get, like, too close to you when they talk? Like, they're just, and, like, you keep backing up and they keep getting closer. Or, like, they're super touchy-feely. Like, that was her and her mom. Just really close, touchy-feely people. And I am, if you know me, the least touchy-feely back up. I like my space. Back it up. Anyways, that's Maddie. Maddie was a hoot. Maddie recently hit me up, actually, said, so I don't know, like, slid up on a story or something silly. But still relevant to this day. I don't think I would ever hang out with her. I've seen her a handful of times out in public, and, like, I'll wave and be kind, but, like, fucked me over for prom, was weird about my brother, did weird sexual shit, like, around and in front of me, and, like, that's not my vibe ever. I don't know, it's just, like, it all felt very forced at the time in the situation, you know? So, anyways, Maddie, if you're watching this, hey girl.
I was also thinking about getting a sticker on my jeans. On the radio yesterday, they were talking about, they had, like, people calling in talking about the worst thing that's ever happened to you at a job, like, the worst thing a boss has done. And I was like, oh, I have a story. And I was like, you know what? I've never actually really shared that story. That, like, one instance in my life changed the trajectory of my whole entire life. So what I thought was, like, the worst moment, I was literally at an all-time low, really built me the beautiful life that I have now. So it's June 25th, 2008. I was starting my very first shift at a very popular bar in the East Village in New York City called Bar None. Some of you may be familiar with it. And I was about 4 hours into my shift, and I get a phone call on my pink BlackBerry that my nephew was born. And my brother is crying, and he's like, he was born with a hole in his back. We don't know what's wrong. They're flying us to Syracuse on the helicopter. My whole family's freaking out, and I'm, like, taking a bunch of phone calls. And the owner of the bar is like, I need you to get off your phone. And I was like, I'm really sorry. My nephew was just born with a very severe disability. My family isn't really sure what's going on. He's like, okay, and kind of, like, gives me a little bit of attitude, but I'm like, so at one point my phone won't stop ringing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go take this call. And he's like, if you can't stay off your phone, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And I was like, my nephew is born with a life-altering disability. He has spina bifida, myelomeningocele, the most intense form. My family had no idea that this was happening. He had to have a shunt immediately placed in his brain. Like, it was very traumatic for our family. I'm 22 years old. I moved to New York City on June 12th. This is June 25th. Like my first time really away from home. And this man, he's like this big burly like biker. He was such a motherfucker. And I was like, well then I'm sorry, I quit. Like my first day, and at this point I think I had like, I didn't even have my rent in my bank account. I was like, there's no way I can quit this job. But I wasn't staying there. I knew I couldn't work for this man. So I leave and I go home and I spend the day doing what I need to do for my family, and I'm on the phone all day, and I'm trying to get all the information and get everything I need. And I'm like also a mess because I'm like, did I just blow up my whole life? Am I gonna have to move home after 2 weeks because I lost my job? The only job I had. Like I spent all my money to set up here. And my roommate comes in the door and she's like, I just quit my job. And I was like, what were you doing? And she was like, it was my first day training at this bar in the West Village called the Fat Black Pussycat. And I said, what were you doing there? And she was like, I was cocktail waitressing. So the next day I printed my resume and I'm like, well, they're hiring. So I walk over there and I give them my resume and I said, are you guys hiring cocktail waitresses? My roommate told me she quit. It wasn't for her, but like, I think that I could be really good at this. And she said, this woman, Jen, hi Jen, said, we are not hiring cocktail waitress right now, but I desperately need a bartender. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I trained there to bartend. And then that was like June 26th or June 27th of 2008. In end of July or early August, my now husband came in. Sorry, no. They called him. He had come in at the same time as me in June, and they put his resume to the back of the pile and just like never called. And then they called him in August and they were like, we have a position that opened, and this is Jamie and she's gonna train you. And here we are, 18 years later, 3 beautiful kids. And so it just goes to show you that like every single thing happens for a reason. Not my nephew's disability, because there is no fucking reason for that nonsense. Like, he does not deserve the life he has. He does not deserve what he has gone through. But the way that I felt at the time that losing that job at Bar None, and also fuck you Bar None, was gonna ruin my life, was gonna send me back to Western New York, and that I was never gonna make it in New York City. And here we are 18 years later. Yeah, that's all I got. I just got my hair cut. What do you guys think? It's short. Anyway, yeah, lemonade out of lemons, I suppose. I'm sorry, I'm like very distracted by the neighborhood. I'm in Jersey City. So yeah, don't count yourself out.